We switched to mic only. Looks like it's working fine. And then we switched to the actual game. Ooh. All right, we got our magic in the corner.
Yeah, that's going to be exciting. I mean, Standard's already exciting just from what we're covering this weekend, but with the new Final Fantasy set coming out, which looks to be a really powerful one, it's going to be like new archetypes, infusing interesting new cards into these existing decks, so a lot to think about.
All right, looks like we were...
I don't think we're going to be stuck seeing a Corey Steel Cutter for the next 3 years, friends. I doubt that'll be the case.
Oh, we're just clearing this out, getting this whole area
say, Haley, one of my favorite cards
ready.
Previewed so far is Cloud, who is kind of like a Stoneforge Mystic style creature where you get to search for an equipment.
Oh yeah.
And I was like,
so
oh
hey,
one of the best cards in Standard is already an
Sand
Movers. So
Movers.
this might slot in pretty nicely.
Ain't that handy? Oh yeah, 4 people are playing artifacts here this weekend.
All right, find near sand.
A small group.
Yeah, 6 spots. Yes.
Playing this archetype. And both players slowing things down here. Deciding what the best target is, who's getting tapped, who's getting eaten. And these monks.
You know what?
Gonna keep going.
We need to upgrade all our guys. Yes.
Yeah, so once again, Corey just trying to keep his head above water against the swarm from the Izzet deck, but each time the construct
got our
well.
robot bay
that can absorb some damage. The braided nets tap something down. Does he have another play?
Summon them. Get over here.
Effect that he can add from his hand.
He did just draw 7 whole new cards, so I will be gobsmacked if he doesn't have an answer here, as we see Monstrous Rage on the stack, targeting a monk.
Yeah, I love this. So Monstrous Rage on the monk to be able to trample over the blocking fish token. And also it's like, normally you don't want to play a combat trick into your opponent's open mana.
Yeah.
But what is Aaron really investing here? It's a token creature that he got for free.
Yeah.
Hold on.
So the nightmare scenario where Corey has, a spring-loaded saw blade, some kind of removal spell, it's like, all right, you got me 1-for-1 against my Monstrous Rage.
On the plus side, at least, all of the other surviving tokens will get the +1/+1 from the prowess trigger. So there's that. He's got that going for him, which is nice.
All right. Anyway.
So not that much of.
We are gonna get you guys
again,
some new gear.
MVP.
So did you happen to catch?
Oh,
what is the status?
Took
of
his
that,
bucket.
Slick shot show off. I think maybe it was cast and tapped before blockers, but could
all right,
be.
Let's give him the typical
I think I
heads.
saw the braided net tapping it down.
Right. So it's not plotted. That's on the battlefield. Just kind of neutralized for now.
Sleepy.
Just sleepy. It's all tied up.
Yeah. And one other interesting thing, as Standard has developed, Corey goes down to 10, is that this town ain't big enough. Apparently it wasn't actually big enough, because that card is almost in not very many decks this weekend.
Fascinating development. Yeah, I thought that was going to be basically a pillar of Standard. The combination of Storm Chaser's talent plus this town ain't big enough. But it seems enough new cards have been printed and things are moving fast enough that a lot of players are just opting out of that whole package.
I'm personally okay with it because I cannot stand having my things bounced.
Yeah.
It's the most infuriating thing in the world.
No kidding.
Like, kill it, it's fine, I'd be happier, but now I have to pay mana for it again? Ugh. Here comes another construct. Ooh, so second synthesizer now. Oh, we gotta make so many robots.
And we're approaching that stage in the game where Aaron is going to be unable to push damage on the ground. So really leaning on stuff like Slick Shot Show Off, but there's still one more counter on Braided Nets, so it's a while before Aaron's going to have any prospects of something new and exciting. This is the United Battlefront,
Oh yeah.
which is a card
Okay, so now that
have
they're all
not yet
good
seen
and
resolve
upgraded,
ever in my lifetime. It's, you know, this is the card I open in every booster pack when I'm drafting Tarkir, and it's like, okay, this is useless unless you've built a constructed deck exactly like what Corey has.
all right, we got some
come up
room,
with.
so let's get this stuff out of
Please.
here.
It resolves. Yay!
So we need
I
the
misread this card horribly. I thought it
chiseler.
was creatures. It's not.
It's like a collected company for non-creatures.
Yeah. So not as cool.
All right, we'll
That's
get
in
rid
this
of
deck.
you
Very good.
two.
Yeah, I suspect we're gonna see it have
Do
a
that
powerful
with
effect right
both.
now.
And
And also,
then
I'm pretty sure there's a couple
rough
more braided
stone
nets in hand
remote
there,
collector.
because once it does the 4-card draw, it goes
Let's
3 cards
go
deep, and then he drew 7
up
cards.
to
so
That's a
here.
nice combo. So basically,
Get all
guaranteed
that.
You can have a good hit.
Go.
And, yeah,
You
see
guys
just
follow along.
The squeeze tighten
Boom.
from Corey's side of the battlefield. So now it's like,
Holy moly.
hey, any of your haste creatures are entering the battlefield tapped due to authority of the consuls. I have 2 braided nets. So you need to present 3 relevant attackers before you can do anything.
Oh, no.
I have all these blockers on the ground. So it, you know the scope of relevant plays Aaron Schwartz can make is just narrowing and narrowing.
Good grief. How big is that guy? He was an 18, goes down to 6. That's a 12-12.
Big enough.
It's got to be more than that. Come on.
All
There's
right, let's
so
clear
much
this
crap on
up.
the board there.
Don't need all this shit up here anymore. Oh shoot! Hold on.
This has been a fascinating game 3 here. It almost feels like
It's annoying I have to
Aaron's
restart
stole
this
game
every
2, but,
time.
that's going to be enough to do it. Aaron ran out of gas. Corey just has all the answers there.
There we go.
And a good old death robot building machine.
Do we want to build this? Just get some more going, I guess.
So Corey Lurch 3-0 with Azorius Artifacts. If my memory is right,
I like that deck.
this Azorius Artifacts deck is one that's been kind of like.
All right, so we were
below
kind of
the
moving
surface,
some
has
stuff
not
around. We
broken
haven't set any of
into
this up
an
yet.
RC top 8, but you know, from what we saw, it's got chops against the best deck in the field. So anything's possible from here.
Yeah, it has staying power if it can get through the first couple turns, whereas its prowess is at its most powerful or threatening, then yeah, you could see games like that where you just have the entire world at your fingertips. And we're going to jump into our backup game here. We're going to jump into game number 2. So let's go and see who is in action and what they're playing. We have Larry Coleman up at the top of your screen and Corey Lack. Corey Lack is a previous winner, if I'm not mistaken, of
We're
a
going
RC,
crazy on
or
this.
at least
Oh, ha!
top 8 at
Duh.
the Morris Monument up against Jeskai Control.
Yeah, and more Corys.
More Corys, yeah.
It's a Corey-themed weekend.
Yeah.
Corey Steel Cutters.
Yep. Corey Baumeisters.
Corey Baumeisters.
He doesn't make any monks, though, as far as I know.
But yeah, let's talk about this Boros Monument, because this is another cool one. Another, I mean, I would describe it the same way. Swimming below the surface, like a cool fringe archetype that we know folks can win with, but still perhaps waiting for its big break. Boros Monument, I would say, has a lot of similarities to the Jeskai.
We don't really
Omnibus
need a
deck
whole lot of
that
charcoal, to
standard
be
players might
honest,
a
but
little
it's
bit more
fun to
familiar with.
make
But,
this go nice and big. We're going to go ahead and
skips the
start a
blue
new one of
cards,
these.
It skips the abhorrent Oculus and instead focuses more on Monument to Endurance with just extra discard synergies.
Ah, it's not even.
Hey, it's playing the Phyrexian Dragon Engine too, which is cool. No Mishra. No Mishra to make the big melded thing.
We'll go ahead and
Yeah, so Phyrexian
split
Dragon
that
Engine
open.
is another one where, like, if you get to unearth that when you have the Monument to Endurance on the battlefield, the game is probably going to be within your reach very quickly. And it's almost a free roll because with so many draw and discard type cards, like the Fear of Missing Out that's on the battlefield right
boom.
now, you can just dump that.
We need
Phyrexian
more of
Dragon
these
Engine for
already.
later, anytime you have it have multiple copies in your opening hand.
And then
You know, with the amount of graveyard synergies at the moment, it's not surprising to see the bounce decks fall out of favor with all the discard and disruption that they like to play, because you have this deck that wants to put big dragon engines in the bin, you've got the Oculus deck that's made a resurgence.
Meaning, so Hopeless Nightmare can get you in trouble, allowing your opponent to choose and discard a card. Yeah, I could definitely see that.
Yeah. Or even Momentum Breaker, if there's no creature on the field, you're just like, yeah, what do you have in hand? Oh, damn it. There goes an Oculus.
Right.
There we go.
Here's getting things underway here.
But I
Rage takes
think
care of the Monument to Endurance. Fear
I
missing
like
out,
the
hanging out
idea of
as
this
the only permanent now on the
being
board.
like
So Larry's doing a
this.
decent job of keeping Corey at bay.
So really cool turn there. And
Hi, Basil.
I have an interesting idea of cool because at a turn where nothing happened, but I like it from a strategic perspective because I would guess that Corey has plenty of cards that he could have played on that turn.
Yeah.
But knowing he's against the Jeskai control deck who passed with 3 mana open, he says, hey, I'm not going to play this on your terms. I'm not going to play my key
Let's
card
level it
at
up
a
with the
time when you're
wood,
just,
the forest area.
chomping at the bit to counter my spell.
Yeah.
Instead,
we
I'm
did
going to
that.
pick my spot, make things inconvenient for you. So I love that sort of high level, just gamesmanship and trying to make things as tough on your opponent as possible.
We have our little scrapwork mutt in the bin. Monument to Endurance.
Oh, this looks a little crooked.
Gets recommissioned. And with Beza just hanging out, no counter magic available.
There we go.
This turn
Nice
around,
and straight.
This time around for Larry Coleman. Ooh, look how much cycling this deck does.
I mean, this
Boros,
doesn't
drawing
need
cards.
offense,
this
right?
economy?
So
Yeah, I'll also mention, like, look, Corey seemingly had a pretty bad draw. I've seen 6
Alright,
lands
so
revealed already in
let's
just
do
the
this.
first handful of turns. For a normal, Boros beatdown deck, that would
Charcoal.
be awful. But his deck has so much built-in card velocity and consistency that he's just churning through it. You know, he's got all these. The scrapwork mud was surveilled into the graveyard, so a total free roll. Then it helped him smooth his hand by activating from the graveyard. Got a trigger off the monument. So even when
so
this
don't
deck
exceed
has, like,
everything.
a
We just
bottom,
gotta
25%
come across.
draw, it's still looking pretty nice.
Oh, hi, Chandra.
Hello.
She hurts. This is Chandra Hope's Beacon.
Yeah, this is one of these cards that's like so powerful and so appealing, but it hasn't had a home in Standard for a while, so you kind of forget about it.
Yeah.
But then when somebody like Larry Coleman
Alright.
shows up, one copy of Chandra in the Jeskai control deck, it's like, yeah, wow, she's still got some.
So
some
charcoal
moves.
makers.
Opting for the +1 here, exiling top 5 cards and able to play them until the end of next step. Or the next end step, I should say. And copies them. Who doesn't love free spells? So, back against the wall here for Corey Lack. Up against a Visa and a Chandra.
So I should have 10 here, right?
Ooh, there's the Dragon Engine, so
Ooh, hey friend.
something cool
4.
might happen.
1.
I believe in you, Corey.
So that's what I don't get.
Phyrexian Dragon Engine double striker. And you can discard your hand and draw 3 cards, which is pretty neat when you have Monument to Endurance out.
Right, so you're going to get basically all 3 triggers from the monument in most cases. You're going to get to draw the 3 cards from the Dragon Engine.
So there's no 5.
And
Okay.
2/2 haste double strike is no joke.
Though this guy's probably. Oh.
All right.
Maybe we
so
just had to forget to
it
add the
looks like
5.
was that Corey cashing in a treasure to have a big turn here? Cast the Chandra, cast the recommission.
There we go. Okay.
Goodness me.
These
Chandra
guys,
Sparkle this
let's
time around, the 4 mana
let's go ahead and make them all monkeys. It's kind of fun.
combat. A vehicle
Monkey,
becomes a
monkey,
creature.
monkey, monkey.
Yeah, so it was Helping Hand returns the FOMO, discard the Dragon Engine, make a treasure off the Monument ability, then cast Chandra, cash in the treasure, recommission the Dragon Engine, get the remaining 2 triggers from the Monument. So a really impressive showing here, now creating the vehicle.
Goodness.
However, all of this is, just against Larry Coleman, patiently waiting to untap with his 6-drop Planeswalker, his 4/5 Elemental, the ability to double the first spell
I almost
of his
screwed
choice.
that up.
So
Nice.
even though Corey has had an amazing turn, I still pick Larry's position here.
Yeah. True. Planeswalker survives the turn. You're very happy as he just got control player. And now it looks like we're stocking up twice.
Oops. Sorry, guys.
Pretty good card to copy.
That's annoying. I'll probably end up doing that anyway. Alright, so we're just gonna unfortunately have to reprogram all of you for
When I have them on the
this.
battlefield.
Yeah, you don't like it when
And
you
then
get
we're gonna have to get a fueler
I
too, right?
don't like this feeling when you're
No,
a control
duh.
player and you can't kill their
But we do
Planeswalker.
need to come up here and
You just kind of
activate
have
all
to
these.
Hold your breath and hope things don't get very bad for you. But from knowing how powerful a single stock up can be, getting to double it, choose your basically.
Why
the
wouldn't
best
you be
4 cards
like,
from your top 10.
is it Monument? Why wouldn't that be
control
better?
player
You
with
get
this much
everything
mana
from like
too.
Charter
It's,
Course
uh,
to...
We can expect Larry Coleman to
I
play
don't
a
know,
lot
man.
of powerful and highly relevant to the battlefield spells.
And Corey just has to kind of sit there and wait. And hope that somehow a deck that's really well built whiffs.
Yeah, so what maybe we see? Like, Get Lost for the Chandra Spark Hunter would be a good one. A Braid for the Monument. Set yourself up with a counter spell. Any of the above.
Oh, we
things
could
that
also
I'm
upgrade
looking
these,
to
right?
achieve when I'm taking a look at my stocking cards.
And this is also post-board game 3, so you know all those options available as well.
Yeah, we should probably do that. So we're just gonna grab this whole area. Oh, we gotta clear this out first. Alright. Oh, looks like we do almost the whole thing.
There is a Get Lost there.
Oh, we can. Boom. Alright, by the way, anyway. Grab all of you guys.
So the two biggest
Bring you
threats
down.
on Corey's board down.
To the build site.
And temporary lockdown taking care of the FOMO as well. So just disassembled.
Alright, so we gotta come down here now and upgrade all of these.
How do you
One by one.
Yeah. How do you even? This is what I want to know after that turn from Larry.
I mean, this has been haymakers on both sides, right? Because the good news for Corey is he does get to untap with the Monument on the battlefield. He's got a full hand
so now we
from using the
upgrade.
Dragon Edge in the previous turn, so he can make some things happen. Unfortunately, I just think that Chandra Hope's Beacon is the most powerful card on the battlefield, and if Larry Coleman is going to get to untap with it turn after turn, I just like his position more, despite both players really getting to do their thing and do some impressive stuff.
Well, we can't use the lower tier
Hits the board here for Corey. Pretty sweet,
oven. What am I? Some kind of scrub?
Yep, that's exactly right. And then the Mycosynth Gardens copies Monument to Endurance, so really cool how Corey's able to double up on his most powerful card, but it's
Alright, what do we need to upgrade? Do we need anything else? Stone block, shape blocks. Damn.
Sense of urgency here.
I mean, yeah, what even from the sideboard would help in this instance?
Oh, we cleared that out. Good.
No.
Alright, oh yeah. So now, that sand movers.
So just going to rely on a Guardian here and copies of the Monument to draw as many cards as possible and try and just find something to deal with this battlefield of Larry's. That's Loran. Bye-bye, Loran.
Sweet round, though, you know, factoring in both of our feature matches, it's like
Terramorphing while we're
Chandra Hope's
building.
Beacon,
Alright.
Benalia,
So these should get everything.
Net, you know, these are not cards.
Let me find
that I
this
expected to be
builder
major players in the winners bracket of the regional
stone.
championship, but just man, Standard's a deep card pool, lots of room to explore. And you know, we're talking about like anything from fringe archetypes to customizing your existing archetype, like Larry one of Chandra Hope's Beacon, clearly the dominant card that's gonna, you know,
got
possibly take
distracted.
him to a game and match win here. So you just love it. You love the creative room for artistic expression.
Yeah. And that is definitely one of the coolest things about Magic, is finding something that resonates
We can
with
always
you,
play some of my decks. I
then
got a couple
it
that
becomes your
are
pet deck
medium.
or, you know, your
All right,
favorite
we're gonna make
archetype,
these
and
guys
you just go from
standard.
there, you know. That's one of the reasons that I love Commander so much as well, is you can really build something
There you
that
go.
is you.
Yeah, no doubt. You could have your favorite card that it's like, oh, you know, I just want to work towards having my Chandra on the battlefield, and then I'll be happy regardless of what happens.
Personal wins, right? You might not always get the win-win, but
All right, and then they will get shoes.
So meanwhile, Judge being asked a question.
Oh, I'm an
not
idiot!
sure exactly what's going on.
Oh, they need them anyway.
Sort of accounting.
I just didn't get that far.
Thing. Yeah. And when we're
all right,
through,
never mind.
Larry's gonna get to untap and
I won't accept them if they don't have room.
Where he gets to double a spell of his choosing.
Looks like questions being asked.
We'll give them scanners too. It doesn't mean just because they're not looking bigger area, they are gonna be looking faster.
Another discard there, so.
All right.
If draw was picked off the first discard,
there you go.
Can't pick that one again. So as we get that resolved. Lorena, the third path, is hanging out there. Just want to say thank you, everyone.
Excusez-moi. Sorry about that.
As soon as the judge call is resolved,
I don't know, maybe it's too close.
Duke is, well, he's great, and you should.
I could tweak my audio.
And we're going to be watching some very cool Magic the entire weekend. We've got plenty on the line here for many of our players. Our top 2 players.
What are we doing? What are we doing?
Championship, the top 8.
Everyone's got shoes.
Going to the Pro Tour, which is also
you gotta work on grips.
I remember my first Pro Tour commentating. I have never played a Pro Tour, but just getting to see the players like dial in focus mode, you know, when they sit down and they open their first draft packs. Oh, it gave me chills. It's giving me chills again now, actually, because it's wonderful. So I wish that for every person playing in this regional championship, but alas, there can only be a handful.
Yeah, it's
I guess these guys could have just
you know,
more.
These players, I just echo exactly what you said. Like, I wish the Pro Tour has meant so much to me in my life and delivered so many really great memories and experiences that I hope, you know, more people can have those opportunities and those chances.
Okay, so.
And, you know, events like these, the regional championships, they are attainable. You can qualify for them.
Or how many builders doing, by the way? Let's see
keep
this.
an eye out for all of these events.
They're getting there. Oh, we're gonna need walls for these. That's right. All right, so
even if you just come and hang out and play some Commander for the whole day at the event.
we might want to move this.
Yeah, we have the modern RCQ season for the next round of regionals.
Yeah.
You know, whether you're coming from the United States, where you might be playing at one of these SCG cons, or from anywhere in the world, you know, you can check out a modern RCQ local to you and take your steps towards these big competitive tournaments.
And hey, you may even get to beat like Pro Tour champions in the first round of one of these. Like, sorry, Matt Nass.
Yeah.
Chico Paragon of the Way. This card is so cool. I love it. Flying Vigi 4/5 gets you a free thing.
Yeah, arguably this is the card that has really made Jeskai Control take off because, you know, you had the existing blue-white control deck as Aureus Control. You, of course, have Is It Prowess, but mash them together and you get this dream card for a value player where it's like, hey, I'm going to cast this creature. It's the biggest thing on the battlefield.
We'll see if that's good.
But even if you're able to kill it or fight through it, I get a
that's
second
where we
shot at my
wanted it.
best spell. Yeah. How about a stock up? How about a...
So what are we going to behind down here?
Like
Stone.
temporary lockdown. You know, whatever the situation calls for, you get a second shot at it with Chico Paragon of the Way.
Oh boy. And now we see it's Ashana's Tidebinder. Do we have an activated ability on this deck? I don't know.
Yeah, a fine question, because it looks like it's Larry's main phase, right?
I think so, yeah. but it doesn't do anything. Oh, there must have been a discard trigger off of the... Yeah, okay.
Yeah, so it looks like something caused a discard trigger. Larry went to counter that trigger and shut off one of the monuments. Corey responded by another discard
so
to get
yeah.
additional triggers.
Typical shoe.
And you know what could be happening is
Grip.
you're limited to one trigger per turn
Backpack.
off of Monument to Endurance, or at least one of each trigger.
Yeah.
So
And
with the repeatable
add the stove cycle.
discard outlet on the battlefield for Corey, he might be trying to trigger stuff at the end of his turn.
Hopefully, he can get one in his back and two in
setting
his
up to use again
arms.
the following turn.
I can't remember how big they are.
In this case, it looks like it was
So 2 in the backpack,
responses
3 in the
with
grip. That's 5. That's
redundant
nice.
copies of Monument getting destroyed.
Let's watch some Magic this morning.
But Larry Coleman down to 5, so
Yeah.
you know, with Monument to Endurance able to deliver direct life loss, things are getting scary. And I maybe was premature in counting Corey out of the game. Certainly Larry has done a great job accumulating value, answering threats, but I mean, we could see just 6 points of direct life loss. And
So yeah, let's
Corey
build
actually
one
winning
more of
this
them
game.
at least.
Yeah, especially
So
with the second copy of Monument. I would like to discard something, please. I bet is what he's thinking. Phyrexian Dragon Engine. In response, what does Larry have? Because I'm pretty sure he's gonna be dead here. No. Nothing?
alright, and now we got 2 of them. That should help speed this up a
Because
little
it'll
bit.
be Dome, Lightning Strike to the face for each. So,
We only have one builder
discard,
for
Phyrexian
these.
Dragon Engine comes out, gets to draw 3 cards, and the triggers off of Monument should wrap this up.
Holy cow, what a finish. Like, I wasn't even really paying attention to the life totals. I thought this game was all about value, who could draw more cards, who could do more cool stuff, but all of a sudden the Monument's just getting turned at the opponent's life total directly, and
Yeah,
is Corey about to steal this one?
Mycosynth Gardens put in so much work there.
Let's
Yeah,
put
he
a
kinda
let's put a mover, a
didn't
sorter
even
in here.
notice that it was sitting there just chipping away. Well, chipping away. 3 damage is a lot. Larry's life total there. Does he have a way to keep himself alive?
We can snag that builder.
Monument to Endurance.
Shaped.
Such a sweet card.
Alright.
Probably
Steal
one of
it.
the coolest ones that came out of
Disconnect it.
Ether Drift along with Stock Up.
Oh, never mind. Never mind.
So
It
if you're
doesn't do
wondering,
nothing.
you know, why is the game not over, the Tishana's Tidebinder does
Except we can do it this
cause
way.
the Monument to lose its abilities for as long as the Tidebinder's on the battlefield. So while this is getting very dicey, Larry is not dead just yet.
Alright, and then you can come up here.
Because it shuts off all of the abilities. Loses all abilities. So even if they're new?
Yeah, like basically it just makes the Monument an inert
Okay.
rock for
Right,
as long as the Tidebinder's on the battlefield.
Huh. So, Tidebinder needs to go die-die. And that is what's going to happen here.
Wait, what?
At least an attempt will be made. Dispel X.
Oh!
Thank you. I think that's what that is. Yep.
So I do think that
Oh, we could do
Corey's gonna
this.
wind up winning this one, because what I'm seeing on the battlefield is that if both creatures attack
And then
Larry, Larry's gonna have
if we
to
just make
risk the
this an
Tidebinder in
if
combat.
You
And
are
then if the Tidebinder
under
dies, it only takes Corey saying, "Okay,
95,
I'm gonna
let's
pass the
say.
turn,
Hit play.
discard a card, make you lose 6 life,
Yeah.
and you know, while
And
we're
so
not
he'll
gonna have
keep
enough
moving
time to
it, but
actually
when
see
he
the
can't,
handshake in that
he'll
match,
just chill out right
we
there.
can let you know that Corey did wind up winning, which
Okay.
I'm like bowled over, like very, very impressed by how that deck played out and how he was able to navigate that game. And that's it for round 3.
So yeah, the builders
Yeah,
are taken
that's it
from
for round
here.
three. Round 4
The
is much
builder
more
is
this.
adding
Very
on
great
to
rock and roll,
them.
so don't go anywhere.
Alright. Yeah, I don't need this room. And again, do I really need this on full screen? Stupid fucking mice. Do something. Do drop something. I can't remember though. Cure. Okay. Everything looks good there. Ooh, okay. Yeah, adding those builders helped. Alright, we're gonna take all of this, move it up to here. I think. Well, we're gonna add it here anyway. And then we're gonna select. Oh, we don't want the fence. Oh, we need to delete just like one, it looks like. Never mind. We'll just do this just to be safe.
Welcome back to the action here. I said we'd be quick, and I didn't lie. I'm Ailey alongside Reed Duke, and we are jumping into round 4 of the action here. Turns out when you bring a bunch of flappy birds that like to kill you quick, the rounds go real quick, Reed.
Yeah, no kidding. I mean, I'm grateful for it.
Yeah, no, we're not complaining, just saying. But we will do our best to show you the resolution of the matches, even if we have to go super, super duper quick. Our players coming up in the next round are playing real sweet.
I wish
One of them is playing a really sweet list. The other
I
one
kept
is
the green
orange.
under the
Everyone
fence.
knows what that is.
That's one thing I don't
But
like.
we're going to talk about this deck as we get into
So
the
now
match here.
I'm incentivized
Throne
to
of the
put
Grim Captain.
down
That's another like draft rare.
like these, right? Just to
know,
make it look better.
4 colors.
I mean, it does look
What's that?
better, right? God damn it.
I see a Galta.
Yeah,
There's a
we're gonna
Trumpeting
need-
Carnosaur.
Well, I'll start by saying, when you call a deck zoo, that's sort of like a industry term
Yeah.
for, you know, competitive Magic, where it means like, okay, I'm playing a bunch of different colors, playing the best creatures in all these colors. This is more of like a zoo in the dictionary definition of zoo, where you have every different animal that you can actually put into, you know, into one place.
Yeah.
So we've got merfolk, we've got dinosaurs, we've got pirates,
Yeah, I don't know.
and we've got vampires.
I do like
So
how this looks
the
so much
Throne of
more.
the
What's
Grim
this
Captain
make?
is about having to craft
What about
with
this?
one
What
of
is
each of
this?
these from your graveyard. And the payoff
How does
is,
that look? Let's see it.
I mean,
Let's make a small
basically you're gonna win the
patch.
game. You get like some 7/7 with every
They look like
ability
they're
that's
fairly
the
easy to
biggest,
build,
most powerful
too.
creature on the battlefield. So that is what one of our players, Azim Lyons, is trying to do, is to basically transform the Throne of the Grim Captain.
Okay.
So we're in for an exciting one.
I'm here for it.
Big picture, we have another one of our good guys versus bad guys matchup where it's the Is It deck that we're going to see a lot over the course of the weekend against somebody trying to do something new and original, exciting, and seeing if they can beat Is It.
All right. Well, 4-color zoo. Let's see if these animals are getting let loose or if Nicholas Odenheimer.
I don't know already. They're
Page
too
is a
reddish.
prowess down at the bottom of your screen. Up
I
against
like
Azim
the
Lyons on
the
4-color zoo
the like
list.
kind of
So I wonder
cementy
what
look
the white
of the
creatures
other
did not
stuff.
get included, although there is a Galta and Maverin in here, so it's fine.
Yeah, yeah.
You're not casting that ever, but yeah.
And I believe the Throne of the
It's not too
Captain,
bad.
The backside is a black creature, so
Yeah.
that has every color represented, even though this is a base blue-red deck.
This could be sweet. And 3-0, so I bet you no one practiced for this matchup.
I don't think I could. Nah,
Yeah,
I mean
backside
the fact that it
is a
uses
menace, trample, lifelink,
the
exile,
one fully
Grim.
limited resource.
Whenever this attacks, each player
I don't think I can
sacrifices a
afford doing that.
non-mana
Let's just make a
permanent.
bunch of this
Then
stuff.
you can put an exiled card, used to craft it, onto the
Everything
battlefield,
else
tap it, attack it. Ew!
is infinite.
Okay, I love it. This sounds fun.
Quick out of the gates from Nicholas.
This will kind of blend in with the grass a
bothering
bit.
to plot the slick shots. They're just coming down as attackers, accumulate that little bit of damage, set up for a big explosive turn later. But I will also note that he missed a late drop, so not ready to stock up just yet. But maybe Opt or Sleight of Hand would put him in good position.
Oh, Spirebluff Canal, right on time. Able to do the stock up you mentioned. Did see a big Atali hit the bin there for Azim. But still quite a ways to go. He has the Trumpeting Carnosaur in hand that can also discard itself to deal
Sorry,
3,
Wally.
so would like to get that to sort out one of these birds. Yep.
That should be one more, another one thing, another thing
There's one
that
of the
would
slingshot show-offs.
make this.
Unfortunately,
Just
doesn't
have a.
prowess, so, you know, it can
What's
never
it
get
called
out
in
toughness
other
range if there's,
games?
like a lightning strike or a shock or something to kill it. Okay.
Oh boy, so the Staunch Crewmate, really powerful in a deck with other pirates, but it can also find the key card, the Throne of the Grim Captain.
Nice.
And we're already set up with a Merfolk and a Dinosaur in the graveyard. If that Staunch Crewmate dies, then we're only one away.
Got a pirate, yeah.
The fact that it shows the edge is
So
annoying though
shapeshifters in the
too.
bin, because there's a couple of those too. There's Torian Mauler and there's 3-Tree Mascot.
Boy, Torian Mauler is a blast from the past. I guess that must be like a Foundations card that I did not expect to see in Standard.
No, I'm gonna double check that.
There you go.
Yeah, so there you see it on the screen. Torian Mauler, 3 mana 2/2
Foundations, yeah.
changeling that grows. This was a really desirable card back when it was printed in like the Lorwyn Morningtide era, of the original changelings. And hey, if you need to beef up your count of a variety of different creature types, this is a way to do it.
Yeah, it doesn't let
Grim
you.
Captain can't just target one thing though. Or it can, right? So if there's a changeling in the bin, granted you want to get as many cool things under it as you can, but it could just be one thing to flip it.
I believe the changeling is like sort of a wild card, so I think you would still need 4 distinct creatures.
Right, okay.
But
yeah,
the changeling can count as whatever you're missing.
Okay. Yeah, that would be silly.
Also, if you ever cast a Torian Mauler, it's like kind of reverse prowess, right? So whenever when all your opponents are trying to cast a big flurry of spells in the same turn, you can accumulate a bunch of counters and have the biggest creature on the battlefield.
It's a good way to give yourself a massive blocker against the ground-based creatures, like these monks that we see Nicholas Odenheimer creating. I know my brain is mush for the most part of the year, but I'm pretty sure Nicholas Odenheimer also won an RC.
Alright,
Wow.
so.
I think he won. No, I think he won the first Spotlight series.
Oh, right, with
Yeah.
the Gruul Leyline deck.
Yeah.
So that's pretty fun just to see the evolution of Standard of like, okay, this is one of our expert red aggressive players who has probably spanned the whole spectrum from like Gruul of varying types to mono red to now playing
Move to here.
Nice.
And
So
then
we
the
all the things he
log
wants to be doing at this
storage.
Storm Chaser's talent on the board. We've got the remaining Slickshot show off and a whole bunch of little friends here, as well as the Monstrous Rage.
We got
on the
all the
Monstrous
gear.
Rage. So that's all the rage coming in. And that's it.
Gotta make the
12
backpack
Emacs.
worth it,
Okay,
right?
let's
So.
go sideboard times.
Yeah, wow, so was that actually lethal right there? I saw Azim lined up a block with the Staunch Crewmate against the Swift Spear. That was rendered ineffective by Monstrous Rage giving trample. Then Nicholas also removed the blocker with into the Flood Maw, which is another prowess trigger, takes away even the 1 toughness of the Saunch crewmate. So I guess with enough triggers on the Swift
Alright,
on
sit
the
down.
Slick Shot show
It
off,
should be fine. It
plus
should
the
be where we
Trampling
want to
Monastery
be.
Swift Spear, it was just all over before Azim was even able to craft.
I wonder what Azim has faced thus far. Try and have a look at that as we take a look at the sideboards here. What are we doing against this list? Against Is It Prowess? So what do you think Azim's going to bring in?
There's no way
Boy, that is the
we need to
million-dollar question.
risk
You know, if anyone has
this
come up with
being
an answer
weird
to
at
that, of
all.
what cards can I sideboard against Is It Prowess to really shore up the matchup, then they're going to have a good weekend. But
Alright,
some
I
cards
think
that
the
he
game's a
might be
little
turning to,
loud.
Pyroclasm is sort of hit or miss against Is It, where sometimes you can tag like you know, a creature if they've tapped out and they can't trigger prowess, or if they've put the Slick Shot show off onto the battlefield rather than plotting it, like did happen in the first game. A Braid, I think, is pretty safe as far as dispersal. These are ones that are a little bit more reliable in terms of being able to remove an attacker, and I think that's the name of the game for Azim.
I don't know. I don't think it's so bad. I just the base, I guess.
Long enough to get the Throne of the Grim Captain as a relevant game piece, and to do that, you just
How
need
many
to make
logs
sure
does
you're
he
not
hold?
dying to those Slick Shot show-offs.
Yeah, you know, similarly to how we saw with Corey Lurch with the Azorius artifacts, you need a way to just slow them down so that you can do the fun stuff too. Because pretty sure everyone wants to play Magic here this weekend, and you know what Magic I really enjoy playing? Tarkir. Tarkir Dragonstorm is such a cool set. My set of the year so far, probably the last like 2 years maybe. Who doesn't love big dragons? You a dragon fan?
I am, yeah.
Good, yes.
I saw you playing Tarkir Dragonstorm during our off rounds in the morning, right? You just can't get enough.
I can't, no. Yes, I really, really enjoy the set. It is so much fun. Be sure to go and check it out at starcitygames.com/MTG-TDM.
Make sure I didn't screw anything up
Go
there
pick up
real
some
quick.
dragons, because they really, really are cool. And the reprint of Crater Hoof Behemoth has made it super affordable too. So yay for reprints! I didn't own one, and then I opened one, and I was very happy about it.
Nice, congratulations. That's an important one to have in your collection.
Yeah. Oh, and the art and the treatments, everything's just so good in that set. I even built my own dragons deck. I was like, I'm never going to own an dragon deck because no one likes playing against it. But now there's new dragons, you can do other cool things with it. So it's like, yeah, I'll build it. So I did. Anyway, I digress. Sideboarding now for Nicholas Odenheimer. I'm guessing a Braid will be pretty important here.
Yeah.
Anything else of importance?
I love the 2 Abrades, the 2 Ghost Vacuums, because those are cards that can directly fight the scariest card from Azim's deck, which is that Throne of the Grim Captain. Other than that, it's options, right? You might turn to Spell Pierce if you think that's going to be important. Maybe Sunspine Links if your opponent really is playing, you know, a 4 or 5 color deck. But yeah, I would jump to the Abrades and the Ghost Vacuums, and then kind of optimize and round things out as you see fit in the other departments.
Yeah, I want to do this, I think.
Ghost Vacuum is going to have a pretty good weekend.
Just for aesthetics.
Just based off of how many decks we've seen that care about their graveyards.
Right, yeah. When we talked about the metagame breakdown, we were sort of focused on the big story, which of course is It Prowess?
Yeah.
But the second most played deck is Omniscience, which is not something, certainly like 2 weeks ago, I would not have foreseen that development in the metagame, but
No, I think we're good. I mean, I could do that, make it look kind of neat, but I don't think this is fine. Alright, so for...
So this is going to be one to watch, even though we didn't have it in the feature match last round.
For...
Definitely look for that as sort of like a day 2 winners metagame deck if some players have found a way to solve the Is It matchup with Omniscience. And yeah, Ghost Vacuum, just one of those sort of ubiquitous cards. It's like almost any deck in the format starts with those 2 Ghost Vacuums in the sideboard. Piece in the other 73 cards as you see fit, and you're ready to go.
It's kind of like Soul Ring and Arcane Signet and Commander.
Yeah, no kidding. Ailey, while the players are setting up, let me ask you the question that you asked me last round. What would you play if you were competing in the RC?
I probably would play the Is It Prowess deck.
Okay.
Because I really like going fast. That's how I started playing Magic, or learning to play Magic, was with it was a mono red deck around Ixalan time, so like Fanatical Firebrand, you know, that kind of nonsense. That's why I always play things in my first main phase, because I always expect them to have haste. You know?
Yeah.
Yep.
They should have haste.
So bad habit for that, but yeah, I like killing my opponent quicker, because then there's less decisions for them to make and less mistakes for me to make.
So is it prowess heavy on swift spears and slick shots, it sounds like?
Yeah. Go fast, smack face.
So meanwhile, we have Azim with his key card right off the bat.
Oh, nice. Throne of the Grim Captain is on the board, milling now. So can we get the 4 creature types needed to craft that by turn 4? That would be sweet. I would love to see it, please, Azim.
Yeah, so the key, you know, the payoff, of course, is the craft ability. But this is a cool card, because if you cast it on turn 2, it's sort of like a self-enabler, where you get to stock your graveyard. We talked about how Azim designed his deck with the appropriate mix of all these creature types, plenty of changelings to serve as wild cards. So he's just trying to set up, you know, if Nicholas can't find a Braid
26,
or Ghost
okay.
Vacuum, he could just be a sitting duck
7,
to the
8.
the Grim Captain, making essentially an unbeatable creature.
That would be rough. Sleight of hand now, after the plotted Slickshot show-off joins the battlefield, finds land number 3, Spire Bluff Canal, opt, another trigger there, so now these are what, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8? 8 power, I believe. What else can you do, Nicholas? Nothing, because Floodpits Drowner says, sit down, please, birdie. Back to sleep you go.
Somewhat interesting that in game 1, Nicholas was just casting outright the slick shots to start attacking for 1. This time he did elect to plot, which could be a nod to Pyroclasm. You'll see these sharp Is It players sort of like recognizing the patterns and knowing what you should be doing differently between main deck and sideboard, and of course depending on what your opponent's strategy.
Without adding anybody, let's add 1.
Available are, but just not exposing.
And we did make them all
Slickshot show off
monkeys, so we'll add 1 to make it
sorcery
even
speed removal
10.
spell until you're ready to have your big turn.
Oh, I gotta make it down here
Full
first.
Secret along with Into the Flood Bowl. I appreciated Zim leaning forward there a little bit. Oh, okay.
Alright, so Char...
Beautiful card, yeah.
Coal Maker.
Decent blocker and decent way to deal some
And
reach
then...
damage.
Okay, yep, we're good. Charcoal Maker.
Turn
Oop,
passes back now to Nicholas. Stun counter's gone. So
10.
one more turn
And
and
you-
that
oop,
bird will be
too
back
far.
on duty.
So
Can this also do
10.
against a vampire?
Well, it's got to become at least a 3/3 before it can be a relevant attacker.
Oh, imagine doing the backup ability on a Taurian Mauler in a long game. Oh, that would be so sweet.
There's so much cool stuff you could do with the Thrill Seeker. That's it's not doesn't appear in this particular deck list, but that's a favorite card with Agatha's Soul Cauldron.
Yes.
Where it's like,
it's
hey, I'm
beautiful.
gonna give all my creatures the ability to grow huge and sacrifice to deal damage directly to you.
That's another really sweet card. I love Soul Cauldron. Hey, Ghost Vacuum. Uh-oh, that's gonna put a bit of a wrinkle in Azim's plans.
One of the things that's fun about Ghost Vacuum is it's not all or nothing, right? It's not Rest in Peace, it's not Leyline of the Void, but it's more like we're gonna see whether the Throne of the Grim Captain and, you know, all of the support Azim can put together for it can outpace the one targeted graveyard removal each turn. And I don't know the answer. Certainly, I you know, if you're a fan of Nicholas, you're happy that he's got the Ghost Vacuum to at least like interact and try, but it's not impossible for Azim to just.
Okay, what about that too?
Okay, so here we have activate the mill 2. Nicholas pauses to think, do I want to you know, remove something in response? Because once the craft ability goes on the stack, it's too late.
Yeah.
You can't remove one of the craftable cards in response, you have to do it preemptively. So
Yeah.
don't ever let Azim get all 4 types in the graveyard.
Ruh-roh. Because it's not a target ability, that's why it's not. There's no ability to respond, correct? Well, the Grim Captain's a leg.
So he crafted with the vampire from the battlefield. I forgot you could do
Yeah,
that.
oh right, sweet.
All right, the Grim Captain.
Grim Captain. He is a 7/7 with many keywords. Lifelink, Hexproof, Menace, Trample, and basically has Annihilator.
I mean, yeah, this thing is not going to be on the battlefield for long before the game ends. So of course, we'll flag Lifelink and Hexproof as things that a red-based aggressive deck are going to have a little bit of trouble for.
Just a bit.
Yeah, just a bit. And then whenever the Grim Captain attacks, each opponent sacrifices a non-land permanent. So that's the Annihilator you mentioned. Then you may put an exiled creature card used to craft the Grim Captain onto the battlefield under your control, tapped and attacking. So how about that Atali Primal Conqueror?
Yeah.
How about that Voldaren Thrillseeker to back up onto the Grim Captain itself? I think this game, you know, once that thing turns sideways even once, we're going to see Azim just do his thing and show why this kind of goofy-looking deck is actually 3-0, possibly on track for 4-0.
Oh boy. Nicholas is going to put up the best fight that he can, though. Monstrous Rage on the birdie. Okay, good. It doesn't fly. Grimcap, I thought it flew as well. I was like, yeah, that would be just busted. So, down to 13 goes Azim, but not all too fussed about that with the Grim Captain on the board. Oh, Captain, my Captain.
So it brings up the question, you know, did Nicholas make a mistake in not activating the Ghost Vacuum soon enough? Was there an opportunity that you could have targeted something or something different?
The one I want is
like, I'll admit,
too
I
expensive.
missed that the vampire
So at least
on the
do that.
battlefield was going to be a valid crafting option.
Yeah.
So that's why, you know, one of the hidden strengths of bringing one of these fringe decks is like, hey, people haven't practiced against you, they maybe haven't seen the cards, they don't know all the tricks that they need to know in order to shut you down, and there's Azim.
So cool.
I mean, I don't know if the word stealing is accurate there, but just doing his thing.
He's
and
a pirate, Reed Duke. Of course he's going to steal it.
stealing everything he can. But the Grim Captain, man, that is scary.
That was so cool. Yeah, and like you mentioned, Thrillseeker coming back, giving the backup ability to the captain. Thrillseeker also has the ability if you need that extra little ping of damage, but wow, that was sick. More, please.
I'm ready for it. Yeah, so we saw Into the Floodmaw as one of those, like, we weren't sure sideboard options, but it makes perfect sense. You just want to slow the game down. And other than that, Azim wants to make sure he's keeping the 4 copies of his key card, the Throne of the Grim Captain, plus the healthy mix of creatures, because we saw, you know, he needed it. He needed to have his random mills deliver the right intersection of creatures in order to craft and win the game.
Man. Didn't think I'd see 2 games with Croft in it. TBH. It's kind of one of those keywords where you just go, yeah, okay, fine, it's cute. It's doing work. Oh man, Magic is cool. And you know what's cool? Final Fantasy. That's the next set coming up from Magic the Gathering, and you can pre-order your singles right now. StarCityGames.com/MTG-Fin. This set is already the best-selling Magic set of all time. Video gamers want to get their hands on this stuff, and I'm looking forward to seeing how they translate all of these characters into Magic the Gathering. Reed, I know you're a big fan.
I got in on it yesterday. I pre-ordered.
Yeah?
So, yeah.
Sweet.
Get ready.
What are you looking forward to playing with?
So my pre-orders, I ordered Cloud and I ordered Cecil. Because these cards look sweet to me. They're like really nice cheap creatures. Cecil's Dark Knight is 1 black to cast.
Yeah.
Cloud is 2 white, kind of like a Stoneforge Mystic type creature. But I figured, hey, even if I'm wrong and these cards don't wind up being competitive, I got 4 copies of my favorite characters.
Yeah,
so
yeah,
you
you're
know,
happy.
that's the upside of this Final Fantasy is like everything's gonna either be a great competitive card or it's just gonna be really sweet and you're gonna be happy to own it, especially if you're a fan like I am.
Hell yeah. I still need to get in on Final Fantasy. I've been told that Final Fantasy 9 is the one to play.
It's a good one. You really can't go wrong.
Yeah. There'll be this 15 to choose from, right?
16 mainline numbered games,
Okay.
which those are the ones represented in the set. And then if you go into the spin-offs, you're talking like dozens or hundreds more.
Ugh, okay. I don't have that much time. I can maybe
No.
play one before the set releases. Oh, goodness me. Players are solving their mulligans.
Excuse me. Sorry.
Shuffling up here. Let's see. Come on, Azim. Do it again. That was so much fun.
All right. Well,
I know what I'm playing after this round. Just
we got charcoal moved.
Some pirates, some dinosaurs,
So
Yes.
some merfolk.
It's my favorite dead vampires. It's like my favorite things. I started playing in Ixalan, so like I got a soft spot for these creature types.
Yeah, so let's talk about like the standard card pool is one of the biggest standard pools
Ever?
You know, I don't have the stats in front of me, but I wouldn't be surprised if it's like the biggest standard ever.
Yes, I think it is. I think Frank Carson did a count. It was like it's either over 3,000 or over 5,000 cards. It was nutty.
And in addition to all of the like stock archetypes that we're seeing every day, you forget that like every single individual set in standard had its mechanics and its synergies that you can still go back and tap into. So, great example.
What are you
We
guys?
saw two craft decks on camera. That was one of the main like structural themes of Lost Caverns of Ixalan. So, if you want to go build a Grim Captain deck or you know, a typal creature deck of any of the supported types from Ixalan, you can do that. You want to go build Toxic, go back to the Phyrexian All Will Be One cards. You know, Final Fantasy's coming out soon. I'm sure there will be set-specific mechanics for that. So there's just so many directions you can go in Standard. And, you know, Azim showing that, like, even at the high competitive levels, you can still make it work.
Good job, Magic designers. Thank you for giving us cool cards to play with.
So both players start with 6 here. Nicholas gets to go first, which that is, for better or for worse, quite a big deal for the most important deck in the field this weekend. It is very scary when it gets to get out of the gates with a turn 1 Monastery Swift Spear on the play.
That is what you want to see if you are Nicholas Odenheimer. That means a toss-up, I guess, between that and the Storm Chaser's talent. Which one would you rather have?
Well, if I
Matchup
have to pick one, I'll take the Swift Spear. But you know, my favorite is when you're like turn 1 Storm Chaser, turn 2 Swift Spear. Now I've got 3 creatures attacking you. I'm setting up for a big turn later. But yeah, I mean, speaking of 3 1-mana spells, this is what Is It does. Does what Is It did.
Is it does what is it do?
Yeah, thank you.
Something along those lines. Oh no, get it. Okay.
Wow, that's a sideboard card that I did not expect. Gleeful Demolition, which can destroy a Quarry Steel Cutter always, but also hedges your bet, protects you against the sideboard artifacts. So, yeah, Azim just threading the needle, being prepared for all the various things that he needs to fight through.
You know what's funny? I don't think I've ever seen Gleeful Demolition kill somebody else's stuff. It always just wants to make 3 goblins for the Convoke decks, right?
Totally,
right?
yes.
Yeah.
Secret mode there. 1 mana destroy the best card against your deck. I'll take it.
Sweet. But luckily was able to take care of that Changeling, so it doesn't have the wild card in the graveyard.
And then if it's gonna glitch like that, what's the point?
This matchup's been really cool.
You asshole.
Oh, we got Flood Pits Drowner into the
Yep, I guess never mind.
That's Mishra's
Command.
Yeah.
Okay, the Staunch Crewmate. Whereas we saw this card find the Throne of the Grim Captain in game 1, it actually misses this time. So, you know, seeing the highs and the lows there.
Yeah.
It all glitches. Fuck!
Storm Chaser's talent hits the board now for Nicholas.
Because of the angled pieces.
And they're gonna trade. No?
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's one of the cool things that we've seen from, like, every time Azim gets attacked, his body language is like he can't wait. He cannot wait
Do
to
the
block
red
as
bricks
fast as he
work?
can. And that's what's awesome is he's got the Staunch Crewmate, the Flood Pit's Drowner, you know, a handful of other creatures that have cool enters the battlefield
Yeah, this
abilities.
does it
Yeah.
too.
And he can play them, get the trigger up front, use them as chump blockers. Now they're in the graveyard ready to support the Throne of the Grim Captain. So everything kind of goes together in this nice package of getting my triggers, sculpting my game plan, buying me time, and then inevitably hitting the graveyard as fodder for later.
Nice.
Yep,
So
just
with
gonna
a
have to
pirate in
leave
the
it
mid,
as
we've got
is.
Merfolk on the board. We had an everything, but that's gone. Oh, dinosaur. That's it. Oh, no. Into the Floodmaw. Gives him a fish. But that's going to go back to hand.
Yeah, so a
Okay.
nice tempo play for Nicholas to stay in the game
Yeah.
because
Excuse
it
me
is somewhat
again.
mana, you know,
All
mana
right.
hungry
Yeah.
to 2 mana to cast the throne and 4 mana to craft. But it brings up another great point, which is not only can you not ghost vacuum a card from the graveyard in response to the craft ability, you can't even interact with the permanent because it exiles as part of the crafting
Right, yeah.
cost. So there's no oh hey, you're going to invest your mana, I'm going to respond and deal with your throne. You can't do that.
Oh, boy. Throne's back. We have the Merfolk on the board still, and the Floodpit's Drowner. Nicholas has his back up against the wall here, down to 12. He's
Oh,
up
shit.
14, but it's
We're
looking
behind on
very,
wood.
very
All right,
close
so we
to,
just need
Grim
more of
Captain time
everything.
for Azim.
So first we'll
And
add
Nicholas
some more
find an
log
answer. Corey's
collectors.
Steel Cutter is his first go-to here.
Let's add 4 log cutters and
Follow-up spell. What do we cast? Into the Floodmaw once again. Man, there's just so many fish going around here. And in response, we're going to see Azim mill 2 cards just to get some value off of that before it goes bye-bye. Whew. That's a scary fish.
How are you feeling about 14 life at this point, Ailey? Is that comfortable? Are you starting to sweat?
It's not the greatest. There's a blocker in the way, at least, which is helpful-ish. You got any more of them combat tricks there, Nicholas? Oh yeah, Monstrous Rage. They always have it. How much damage is that? Oh, into the Floodmaw. Excellently timed there by Azim. No fish.
so we have
to Nicholas.
12.
I could see how this is.
So yeah,
I
if we
see how
add,
this
we'll add
relationship
6.
goes. This is not reciprocal.
Well, 14 life, I would have been feeling pretty bad if I took that Monstrous Rage hit, but actually it looks not too bad for Azim.
Yeah.
Let's keep perspective that 2 times now, Nicholas Audenheimer has used Into the Floodmaw to, you know, significant resource disadvantage, right? Because he's using a card to only temporarily, not permanently, answer one of his opponent's cards. He's also having to gift a fish each time.
Yeah.
And this is a game where both players mulliganed, so that sort of resource disadvantage starts to become pretty pronounced. And you know, there has been no stock up, so at a certain point you start to get a little bit squeezed on resources, and you're like, hey, I'm trying to set up this big turn, kill my opponent for 14 through blockers, and it's just not easy when I'm having to operate with a low number of cards in hand.
That's an awful turn here from Nicholas. Man, when you spend 4 mana to just level up the Storm Chaser's talent and get an uncastable card.
All right,
back,
lumberjack.
So are we going to see it again?
Yes.
Uh,
Because we get to untap with it. Look, what's Nicholas going to do? He's going to take a lot of damage from a really angry pirate.
what happened?
Not right now, but soon. No? No? Azim. But we're just going to kill
Oh,
him.
it came out of my ear officially.
You got any more damage there?
Oh, weird. That's annoying.
Boy.
All right, where were we? Lumberjack.
Yeah,
Yep,
so
add
Azim
6
is
new
just
lumberjacks.
saying, "Hey, I have
Go.
3 creatures, I can put you to 1. I'm
Yeah,
not going to
fine.
leave the door open for any slick shot show off.
First I'll
like
go load up
shenanigans
on
where I might
axes.
accidentally die from 14.
Yep. That's
I like
fair.
it. Yeah, I mean, the known Monstrous Rage in hand.
Oh, the
you
axes
have
are
to
up here
be
now. That's right.
Conservative, but this looks like a really reliable way
There you go.
to
Oh, this is draining that, I bet.
put
Yeah, look at
the
that.
fish.
It's not the cool play, but it's the correct play. And Azim
They actually ran out.
gets to 4, and oh, here at the regional championship in Hartford with the coolest deck of the weekend thus far.
But we got a lot of
I'm here for it.
distributors.
No doubt about that. I did not expect to see Throne of the Grim Captain. Heck, I didn't even know Torian Mauler was a standard legal card that you could play with. So, yeah, huge props. 4-0 doing it his own way. You love to see it.
I'm going to rename Four Color Zoo to the Motley Crew. There's so many pirates and things in there. Come on, man.
The Motley Crew of the Grim Captain.
There you go. Nice. All right, I think we have one more match to show you, friends, before we
We do need more stump diggers, so we'll add another 6 of those.
I want to go and play this list so
1,
much. That was so cool.
2.
It just looks like like a smushing together of cards, but it does such cool things.
Yeah, so I love how just clean cut it is in that particular matchup. It's like, look, if I put the Grim Captain onto the battlefield, I win the game. You know, like barring maybe dying exactly that turn to exactly Slick Shot Show Off. That is a KO against the most popular deck in the field. How this would perform against some other decks.
These guys are diggers, so
they
they need.
This going up against Omniscience or Domain or one of the control decks would be really fascinating. But good showing there. I mean, it seemed to have some nice interactive pieces plus a way to drop the hammer. Yeah,
and I was curious about his previous matches. So he's faced 2 Izzet Prowess decks, Azorius Omniscience. So go Azim.
Yeah, beating Azorius Omniscience, that's impressive to me.
Let's jump into our backup match here, friends. More Magic for you. It is Taylor Spain on Izzet Prowess up against Dane Mazik on Selesnya Stompy. Woo, Selesnya Stompy. Say more. Bright Glass Gear Hulk nonsense? I'm here for it.
Yeah, I love this deck. This is one of the ones that every time I jump into Standard, it's like one of the first things I try because I like, you know, Llanowar Elves. I like the green-white sort of swarm token type strategies. They're really fun to me. Getting some complicated combat steps. But this one is not the traditional like Llanowar Elves, good cards type of Selesnya deck that we've seen in the past. It actually seems to be his own take with a small artifact theme, Herd Heirloom, Teething Wormlet.
That's a great card.
Yeah, cool stuff. I mean, Herd Heirloom is really nice in a deck that happens to be mostly creatures, and then also you get to use it as a little bit of a late game
that's way
card
back.
advantage.
Let's
to keep
catch
card
up.
advantage flowing. You know, target your Bright Glass Gear Hulk, maybe your Regal Bunnicorn if you can get that one big enough.
I'll never not laugh at Regal Bunnicorn. That is just such a funny card.
One of my favorites.
Bunnycorn, yeah.
That's
a silly name.
You know, the card that kind of holds everything together, because just look at the mass of 1-drops / 0-drops in Market Backwalker that you can go and fetch with this card. It's so cool.
And importantly, it's not just, hey, I'm going to go get 2 cards. It's, I'm going to get the perfect card for the given situation. You have something I need to answer, boom, Duskrose Reliquary. Am I totally flooded? I have 100 lands on the battlefield, Market Backwalker. Yeah, so there's no shortage of great things you can do once the Bright Glass Gear Hulks start coming down.
Scrap Shooter and the Warden of the Inner Sky have hit the board so far, as well as the Herd Heirloom on the other side of things. Is it doing Izzet things? It's 2 Storm Chasers talents, so we have 2 Otters, and awaiting some spells here from Taylor Spain's side of things.
Is it, though?
It is. Is it? We'll never not make puns about it, okay? Wizards just put it there for us. Scrap Shooter. Just a 3-mana 4/4.
It's another card that I really like. Again, you know, Bloomborough, this is a set that has all this, like, sort of untapped potential with all the various creature types and cool gift cards. And Scrap Shooter is one that I saw this printed. I was like, wow, that's sweet. 3-mana 4/4 reach right up front. And you have this extra ability. So I love to see Dane making good use of it. Just, I mean, kind of just face value, right? As a good
it's just a good
green creature.
Yeah.
I guess the hidden below face value is the synergy with Herd Heirloom, where exactly a 3-mana 4/4 you can actually attack with that and start drawing some cards, giving it trample.
Yeah. you'd think Herd Heirloom would only be found in the Gruul decks, for example, but the Scrap Shooter is doing a good job of fulfilling that role of being 4 power. As the turn gets passed back now, we have 2 otters. One with Monstrous Rage on it. Oh, excuse me, the monster roll. What do we do from here?
So, Dane passing the turn with no play, that really can't bode well. I mean, this for as cool and sweet as the Selesnya deck is, it is kind of one-dimensional. Like, you're kind of just playing creatures at sorcery speed. That's the one thing that your deck does. So the fact that he passes with all this mana open, I don't think there's going to be some kind of powerful instant or card to restock. I think it just means he didn't draw really well, hasn't found a Bright Glass Gearhulk.
Yeah, that's unfortunate, because you really, really want to find that card. That is the glue that makes the deck work. I mean, he's sitting at 3-0, so he's had a great run thus far at the regional championships. But alas, the big robot hasn't shown up just yet. How about now? Nope. Ah, phooey. That's going to be enough for game 1 here. Taylor Spain picking up the first game. Dane will hopefully be able to put a better showing on for game number 2 here to keep his undefeated hopes alive. So what did you say you would play this weekend? You would probably play Domain?
Yeah, that was my answer based on like familiarity.
Yeah.
I have a lot of friends who are believers in the Izzet deck, so it's possible I would have been convinced or bullied into playing it. But I enjoy the Domain deck, and we did see Matt Nass, you know, in round 1, playing his Pro Tour winning Domain deck, so that it can't be that bad of an idea if a player like Matt is still ready to bring that to battle.
Take a look at the sideboards here quickly for anyone wanting to see what's up with the Selesnya side of things. Invasion of Gobokhan, I really like that one. Gives all my things indestructible when it flips.
Yeah, that one's really, really cool. Authority of the Console seems to be just anyone with white mana has been turning to that against Izzet Prowess, so I expect that to come in. You could even grab it with the Bright Glass Gearhulk if that's what the situation
So I did hear.
Other than that, I would guess that Dane's deck is pretty, like the main deck is pretty well suited to the Izzet matchup already.
Alright.
Then,
we got some
Taylor
shit
is gonna have
moved.
to, you know, work on the fly. Again, everyone's practiced 100 games against Izzet. You might not have had time to play against the, you know, Selesnya deck that's going to be 1% or less of the field. So Taylor's probably thinking on the fly, like, okay, how do I want to balance my Abrades versus...
So we need now... Oh, we're clearing... Oh, that's what we're doing.
So it's not super obvious how he's
We need to figure out... We need to clear this whole area.
Anything that can kill a creature or remove something from the
there's
battlefield. The
sand.
Romantic Barrage has some nice targets, so we'll see.
Unable to Scream is an interesting one. What is that doing in here? Gotta go remind myself what that card does.
Yeah, that's a nice one to
aura,
neutralize a bigger creature. Exactly, yeah. So where your red burn spells might fail against the larger big creature, the larger big green creatures, unable to Scream can still do the trick.
Ah, yes. With the creepy dull art, that's the one. Duskmourn was a unsettling set. I did a good job in that regard.
They certainly achieved the goals of making that unsettling. The scary dolls.
Are you afraid of any typical thing like clowns or stuff like that?
Yeah, clowns and dolls. I don't know, as much as the next guy.
Friends, if you want to pick up some great cards, this weekend is the perfect time to do so. There's a flash sale ongoing that ends Monday. So go to starcitygames.com to go and pick up your singles, see if there's anything that tickles your fancy, and yeah, go play some Magic, because Magic is cool. A couple of the games I played yesterday, I ran into a lot of Haywire Mites.
Yeah, that's a really great one,
Yeah.
especially with Bright Glass Gearhulk giving you an excuse to grab it. I see that Dane has 1+1, you know, one
We
main
could
deck,
do
one
that.
sideboard.
Put some. I don't know. I just went all in on more
And a
removal.
great answer for one of the peskiest cards in the format right now, Corey Steelcutter. Teething Wormlet. I thought it was a dinosaur at first, but it's just a goofy worm.
I would have thought it was a dinosaur as well,
Yeah.
especially based on the art.
Yeah.
So Regal Bunicorn,
Nice.
not particularly scary yet, but I wouldn't be surprised if that thing becomes a 4/4 or a 5/5 in pretty short order.
Yeah. Oh.
Or
well,
not.
No, not. It's just gonna get dead. It's that Burst Lightning taking care of the Bunicorn before it gets out of hand. Teething Wormlet. It's gonna try and do its best job, or its best here, to get Taylor dead. Tall ask for a 1/1 though, until we get some artifacts hitting the board.
Who's that guy? The Acorn Collector or something?
Haywire Might hits the board.
Yep. He's super
We have an
old.
answer for Corey Steelcutter should it appear.
Do I have any AC Stump?
Alright, Sheltered by Ghosts.
Are they not doing nothing? AC.
Spear and gain some life here with the Wormlet. So pretty cool turn there for Dane.
I really like the way Dane is navigating this, where Sheltered by Ghost, it's less about this being
Oh yeah, they're just not.
played, right? It's not meant as a permanent, forever answer against an opposing threat. It's more of like, hey, I'm gonna just play this, hammer my advantage, get this massive life total swing. If you want to answer my Teething Wormlet, good luck. You got to spend your whole turn paying the ward cost.
Yeah.
And that's just enough for me. You know, like whatever, an 8-point life swing plus a temporary reprieve on the battlefield. It's just good enough.
Yeah, it's great. I mean, even if you do get the Monster Sister back after that, you know, the damage is done. Gained the life, did the damage, and now you have a
So they should dig the stump and then dig in the hole.
Scrap Shooter hits the board once
and
again.
then be done. And now we should have some guys moving up to plant some dirt. All right.
Dane Mazik. Teething Wormlet, getting in. Go, buddy, go.
Do this real quick.
Block, Monstrous Rage in response. Yep, they'll be able to kill that friend. It's never a great sign if you're using Monstrous Rage on defense, but hey, at least it's there.
Well, it is a nice way to.
We'll have to
circumvent
do
the
some
ward
dredging
cost,
soon.
Because if Taylor was like, okay, I'm going to play into the Flood Maw, take my whole turn to pay the ward too, that's a tough way to do it. But just getting this, you know, trade in combat doesn't feel too bad.
Not in this situation, not at all. So one problem.
Yeah, that's going to be a while.
Force here for Dane, 4/4.
So yeah, Dane is doing pretty well on the battlefield, and this game is going to come down to.
So yeah, we're going to want the dredger.
So if he gets to play Bright Glass Gearhulk and restock his hand and just guarantee some nice plays for follow-up turns, I like his position. If it's like game one where he has to go, okay, your turn, I'm doing nothing while you're sculpting your hand, stocking up, you know, leveling up your talent, it's not going to bode well. This is sort of an intermediate play where, yeah, Novice Inspector, you do get to spend your mana and continue drawing cards, but it's at the expense of not really hammering your board presence. But here's that really nice Herd Heirloom Sharpshooter, Scrap Shooter combo. Love that.
Yeah, that's awesome. That was a great turn again from Dane. Like, he's had 2 banger turns in a row.
Yeah, really looking for that key card, Bright Glass Gearhulk. If he plays that, he's going to be sort of all set for the remainder of the game. But if the top of his library doesn't deliver, it could be a little bit of a different story.
Okay, torch the tower. Nice.
Is there a better dredger?
The opportunity to kill the Haywire Might before it can kill the Corey Steelcutter, so that's a great turn of events here for Taylor Spain.
And exiled, so no life gain.
Not yet, anyway. Okay.
Nice. Jump block there from the Novice Inspector. Honest Spirit got in, leaving the Monk behind. looking okay for Taylor. Stabilizing, perhaps. Sentinel of the Nameless City hits the board. It's gonna make a map token. Yeah, let's explore. Yeah, let's get that land. Would have preferred a counter there, probably, but you don't hate hitting your land drops.
Dane plays a plane against Spain.
All right, underneath him.
So here we have 4/4 trample being met by 3/3 token plus torch the tower. So it looks like did the herd heirloom get to draw a card there?
Doesn't look like it did, because it was activated for that. It wasn't spent for mana, was it?
I need a shovel.
I wasn't keeping track of spend.
And
but
then we need to
if
clear out
you
some
missed
dirt.
it, whoops. Otherwise, it was used to spend for a creature. But here's the Gear Hulk. He showed up. You're late for work, man.
Yeah, could be just in time though, or I mean, better late than never, perhaps
Sure,
is
yeah.
the expression I'm looking for. As the game is still very close and competitive, and this restock, and we talked about how he gets to get, you know, the right card or configuration of cards for the situation.
Yeah.
Looks like he's picking the Teething Wormlet, which is just a nice efficient play that can kind of grow larger, plus the Dusk Rose Reliquary.
I think it's going to get a little dead here, unfortunately. Oh, no. There's a Novice Inspector. Yeah, eat that instead.
There you go, filling all that shit in.
I thought the Wormlet was just going to be a sacrificial fodder for the Dusk Rose Reliquary, but it's not.
All right, well that's going right. What we were
Second
working on.
clue, taking care of the Quarry Steel Cutter, and rebuilding that battlefield.
Well,
Nice.
we're probably getting close to wanting to start feeding again,
makes me
right?
wonder-
So.
Dane has access to 2
Oh, what did
Haywire
we need?
Mites.
We don't
It's
still
not
don't even have
super obvious to me how strong the card is in this matchup.
medicine
so I
at
wonder
all.
if he had the second one available as a target that he could have searched for there, or if that one is still warming the bench in the sideboard. Just, you know,
Maybe we do
thinking ahead
just make
about,
this
like,
one
okay,
big
like
and
what
then have the
cards am I gonna
medicine
want
shit
access to
over
with my
here.
Gear Hulk? What might I want a second copy
And then
of?
eventually we'll need
These are such
flower
interesting
shit.
questions that it would take, I think, a lot of, you know, a wide range of experience with the Selesnya.
So we
deck
make
before you
it
really
over
have the answers to
here,
those things.
put flowers up over here or something, I don't know.
Life totals 21 to 9. Dane in the lead in that regard, and also in the lead on board.
I do really like this deck, though. I think the herd heirlooms could be a meaningful innovation here. I never would have thought to build this deck without Llanowar Elves, but I like what Dane has come up with here. It's pretty sweet. I'd like to give this one a try myself.
Yeah. I understand why Llanowar Elves is like everyone's favorite one drop. But if you draw it on turn 5, you're so sad to see it.
Totally.
That's been my experience playing with it, but because there's just so much better things to do, you know, in Magic as it stands than when was Llanowar Elves printed first? Many, many moons ago.
The beginning.
The beginning. There you go.
Yeah.
30 moons ago. Oh boy, what do we got going on here? Plenty of Monastery Swift-Spear and Monk Prowess triggers. So Dane taking some damage, down to 15 he goes. And we are gonna send Kellen on an adventure.
Ooh, that's an interesting one.
Journey on, my friend. He's gonna make map
Okay.
tokens, where X is 1 plus the number of opponents who control an artifact. So 2 map tokens.
2 map tokens. Yep, perfect.
Cool.
I think Dane's mission right now is to maybe try to create a 4-power creature so that he can turn his heirloom back on.
Yeah.
He did not cast the Kellen from Adventure.
So what does that tell you he has? What instant speed nonsense do you have? Is there a llama land? I don't think so. Curiouser and Curiouser. Alright, turn passes back now. To Dane. As we see Kellen, Daring Traveler, hit the board now. And just gonna get the damage in while he can into the Flood Maul. Oh, nice. He's gonna bounce the Reliquary a fish is given. That has ward too, doesn't it?
Yes.
So I don't know. That's stuff that grouping stuff is.
So
I don't
Dane,
get.
Dane triggers the ward.
Whatever.
Taylor pays
Alright, I
for
got more
it.
dredgers going.
And
Are they
the
getting
fish is-
stuck on the tool though? Yep.
So things looking dicey here for Taylor. It's at 4 life now. And Duskuro's Reliquary number 2 comes back to take away the Quarry Steel Cutter that is equipped. It's getting a little stressful here for the Izzet player, not gonna lie.
All right, the turn that Izzet has to pump the brakes and play defense can often be a turning point in the game. No stock up there, which is the card Taylor really was hoping to have.
Oh man, that's so
Dane is
slow.
Hellbent, barring that card in hand. Yep. Oh boy, Sheltered by Ghosts on Kellen. Gonna grab the monk out of the way, so that will never come back. And this is gonna hurt.
So a huge sort of gambit here, playing Sheltered by Ghosts into open mana, attacking into the prowess creature. I think Dane is he's just saying, hey, I don't think you have anything, and I'm gonna attack, you know,
Yeah.
based on that read on the situation.
Sometimes you just go for it. Make them have it. Sentinel of the Nameless City. Hey, another Gearhulk on top. Woohoo! Okay.
So the Teething Wormlet, I think that was a 3-2 fighting a 2-3, but looks like the game's over regardless.
All right. Dane puts on a good show as requested, so thank you very much, Bright Glass Gearhulk, for showing up. Friends, if you would like to join us at a future event, then come join us for SCGCon Indianapolis. It is happening on May 30th to June 1st, and it is going to be Magic Spotlight Secret Lair with a unique first place prize, of consulting on a future Secret Lair product. That is sweet.
Yeah, no kidding. That is an amazing, I mean, once in a lifetime kind of prize.
Man, what would your Secret Lair be? What would Secret Lair Reed Duke include?
Boy, I wouldn't even know where to begin.
Jund stuff.
Yeah, Secret Lair, all my old favorite Jund cards.
That would be cool.
But
So-
yeah, I mean, that's an opportunity that, like, there have been a handful of tournaments in Magic's 30-year history, where you get to help design cards, namely the World Championships, the old Invitationals. So having that opportunity from Secret Lair, Spotlight Secret Lair is very cool and special.
That's going to be awesome. So starcitygames.com/SCGCon. Go get more details, and hopefully we'll see you all there. And hey, maybe you'll get your name in the
Make sure it
credits for
works.
Secret Lair. I don't know how they keep track of people who worked on it, but you know what I mean. Taylor Spain, Dane Mazik, 3-0 apiece. This is game 3. We kick things off with a Storm Chaser's talent. Here comes an Otter, and there comes Authority of Consoles. This is gonna be fun.
Yeah, just what Dane wants, given that he's on the draw and may have to
Ugh.
play from behind in this
Yeah.
game, but just slowing things down, making sure he doesn't lose before he's able to play out his hand.
Yeah. Gain life, lose life from the Otter attacking. Oh boy. Great find there for Dane to kick things off. It's turn 2 hold for him. We got any more of them wormlets? Hopefully land 2. Yeah, there we go. Yeah, there's a Teething Wormlet and a Haywire Mite. So nice little sequence there for turn 2 for Dane.
I've quite enjoyed this match so far
Yeah.
because both games were like right up till the end. It was competitive. People were making relevant plays, and then I would say both games kind of resulted in one player or the other like petering out and the top of their library, you know, failing to deliver. But that's not going to happen every game. You know, these decks contain Stock Up, Bright Glass Gear Hulk, map tokens, cantrips. So it's, you know, I think there's a wide range of how things can play out. And even this game, we're seeing a much different dynamic with Dane taking a perhaps defensive approach with Authority of the Consuls.
Oh, nice. Finds a Sheltered by Ghosts, but both creatures were dealt with there by Taylor, so great use of the removal spells to keep things off the board and keep his creatures safe. Now, how much damage can he do with two little guys? None. Well, no more than the two. But we will level up the Storm Chaser's talent and get back a spell from the yard.
Would you like to hear an interesting fact about Dane's deck?
Would, yes.
It has no cards that are not permanents.
Ah.
So there's three copies of Pick Your Poison in the sideboard as sorceries. That's it. Other 72 cards are all permanents.
That's so cool.
So there's no instant speed. There's no like get lost or
good honest magic.
Yeah, and Parting Gust. Sometimes you see in these Selesnya decks, but yeah, this is just good honest magic. Everything's right there on the battlefield.
If we
no trixies from this Hobbitses.
Change this to the opposite. Would that work?
Like that. You don't need to be playing on your opponent's turn and countering everything and combat tricks up the wazoo. So again, a great testament to what Standard is like at the moment.
So let's see if this 4/4 first strike can actually hold the ground against the prowess creatures.
I believe.
Opt to the top.
All right.
Sleight of hand. So we're up to 3/3 and 3/4.
Thank you.
God damn it.
Appreciate it when players keep track of their triggers for us.
I don't get what's different. I guess 5.
Still gets to chump block, which is not.
Why does it not work though?
The trample now making it very.
As long as items can switch 100%, it should be fine, right?
4 lands and 2 prowess creatures. Every single land plays a 1-mana spell, resulting in the maximum possible amount of damage. You're trampling over your opponent. I mean, you barely even needed Unable to Scream. You could have just trampled over the 4/4 first strike if you wanted.
I mean, what, he's got effectively 12 life with a 2 toughness on the board?
Okay, so they start as 1/1s, 4 triggers each, so that's 10, plus the Monstrous Rage an additional 3. That is it. Holy smokes.
Oh, man. That was so cool. Taylor Spain picking up the win there, doing what the Izzet deck loves to do best, and just proving again why over 300 people are playing it this weekend.
Yeah, what if I told you that you got to play turn 1 Authority of the Consuls, and then you played 3 more creatures, and then you died before your 5th turn? That's pretty extreme.
Oh my goodness, that was so cool though. So congratulations to Taylor. He's going to continue on.
Because they have to both fit in? Okay.
And that, I believe,
that's annoying. That's weird.
Myself for this round, we're going to hand things back over to Corey and Jim.
But we're working now.
A couple rounds, and we'll see you all again a little later.
So it's 5. Might as well use this up while we got it. Alright, so now we need to make you work. Do we even need the grip then? Probably not, right? Oh, we need to add a... We need the if else... Excuse moi. Ugh. Alright, if... Yeah, if that is full, then do this. Otherwise, do that. We're just getting this whole dredger process streamlined. Now we can do our dredge maker. Tool dredger. Come on. Can we do enough to make it all one big one? We gotta make you good again, though. Alright, first off. Can I do it all without having to stop? I might be able to. Get over here. Get over here. We'll have to give it a shot. And then we're going to want to give it feet Backpack. I don't think we need to give it a brain anymore. I think we're good. Alright, so let's try. Go, Dredger, go. Dredge Tooler. 1, backpack. 4. No, that was dumb. Dang it. Yeah, I forgot to put that cycle up clause. Yep, boom. Alright. But we should probably build a second one. So let's go ahead and upload Dredger. So tool Dredger. But we need to disconnect it because we need to make it number 2. Alright, and leave you for now. We need to build another workstation. The station is a good one.
Alright, everybody, welcome back to coverage here of the U.S. Regional Championship in beautiful Hartford, Connecticut. My name is Corey Baumeister. That's Jim Davis. We're going to be bringing you coverage here of the next couple rounds before we get Ailey and Reed Duke back into the booth. So, Jim, we're about to enter round 5. What have you noticed from this tournament as you've been walking out on the floor? Anything really standing out to you so far, or kind of just business as usual out there?
Is it versus the world?
Yeah.
You know, talking.
And who's winning?
Is it's doing pretty well.
Okay.
You know, so far. You know, talking to my friends who are playing, you know, it's just there's a lot of is it in the conversations.
Okay.
You know, a lot of just like either they're playing it or they're playing against it. A lot revolving around that, which is kind of a story of a tournament. This is a tournament where this is it as a center, everything else is revolving around it, and now we're trying to decide is it, you know, a celestial object or just a deck. Does that analogy work, kind of, maybe?
I think it checks out.
Sure.
Yeah, yeah.
It's the new plan set's coming out.
I was going to say
yeah,
wait for the space
right,
set, but whatever.
But yeah, it's all about is it for sure. And, but there are some cool brewers out there. I ran into Harlan Fear, good friend of mine, and great Magic player and brewer.
Yeah.
We got a spicy one coming up for you.
Yeah. We're going to get to that pretty soon. It is definitely a deck. That is for sure. It looks really, really cool. So first, let's take a look at the standings to see who is dominating this event. Jim, any big standouts here? I see we got Jarvis Yu in 11th place.
All right,
Nathan
boom.
Stoyer, former world
Not only did we
champion as
improve
well.
our
There's some
soul
nice names on
production.
this. on this thing.
But we doubled
Relying on
up
the list here, too,
our
obviously,
actual
Boros
production,
Mice, you know,
and we
the
made
Mice
it more
package has
efficient and
kind of
sped
fallen
it
off.
up.
That was the dominating force in Standard, be it Mono Red or Gruul.
Yeah.
Boros Mice is
Still
kind of like a
got
distant
dredgers
third
waiting to
in that
get their
trifecta.
tools.
Yeah, the Boros Charm, Lightning Helix style Boros
How
deck,
many?
right?
I think it's usually more
All of
creature-based.
them.
There's a
Shit.
Flame and Sheltered by Ghosts is a big driver deck also for the mirrors. But kind of cool to see that. The Azorius Artifact
Let's
deck's
see
pretty
here.
cool. And of course, Orzhov Pixie. I talked to my buddy Pete, who's playing Is It, and he got obliterated by Pixie. But it's the one thing that deck does really, really well is beat up on Is It prowess players. So the question there, of course, is are we at that critical mass point where you can build a deck that is only good against prowess and have that do well?
Yeah, absolutely. And then as far as some notable players here, you know, Nicole Tipple, she has been dominating, especially when it comes to Standard. 4-0 with Is It Prowess, and I cannot believe it yet again. If there's a top 8 on our standings, Michael DiBenedetto Plummer will be on it. Just took second in the last regional championship, losing to our Jeskai control player. And let me tell you, he just keeps winning. So let's take a look at another.
Oh no,
page
now we're
of
behind
standings.
on
We got
blades.
Hugo.
Okay.
And Jim, all these players down through 32nd place, still undefeated. We see Oliver Tomiko, a phenomenal Magic player who just not only crushed the SCG Tour back in the day, dominated, I would say.
Former
Alright,
fellow
it's
Florida
about time to start
Absolutely. He has been
upgrading
crushing it,
and
as well as Steve Stillman doing quite well there in 30th place as well. Any other notable players here, Jim?
Player-wise, Zachary Keeney is also quite good as well.
Yeah.
My eyes are drawn to 4-color Zoo.
Yes.
Did a modern deck get registered for this tournament, or?
I want to say that was the deck we just saw a little bit ago on camera. It is a wild one. We also have a deck tag that we're going to be showing a little bit later from that. So I'm not even going to spoil it to you because it was all over the place. It looked like a really sweet deck.
I picked a bad time to get lunch, man.
Yeah, you really did.
Ooh.
Yeah. So that is the standings for all the players that are doing well going into the tournament. 4-0, you know, they haven't really accomplished anything yet. Still plenty left to do. And it sounds like our players are actually ready, though. We're going to be checking out Harlan Fuhrer with a really sweet Boros deck. Jim, tell us about it as we head on down to the feature match.
So I ran to Harlan, and he's like, I got a sweet one. What are you playing? He called it Boros Vintage Cube, because almost every card in his deck is in the Vintage Cube or, you know, Vintage Cube adjacent. It's kind of just like a mid-range aggro deck, you know, Fear Missing Out, Screaming Nemesis, very, very high card quality, Voice of Victory, a couple removal spells, Sheltered by Ghosts. He also describes me as having a Splinter Twin in his sideboard. Magebane Lizard plus Sheltered by Ghosts against Is It. For the Wombo combo, it deals the damage, you gain a life, it's protected from the Sheltered by Ghosts, so... Harlan is, you know, some folks come to you and say they have a brew, and you're like, all right, sure, whatever. Harlan is not one of those people. Harlan brews all the time, well known for it. Very excited to see his deck in action.
Yeah, someone will say, like, oh, I got this sick brew, and it's stock Is It Prowess with, you know, 2 changes in the sideboard or something. And then you just walk away from them, and, you know, you just can no longer keep talking to them. But, yeah, Harlan Fuhrer's got a spicy one here. I think this is basically Boros cards I own in my trade binder as well, so should be really interesting. Up against Bailey on Azorius Omniscience. Wasn't Harlan saying this was the one matchup he wanted to avoid, though?
He did say that. He said he was extremely poor into Omniscience and then great against everything else. So this is the trouble of, you know, matchups in a metagame and in a tournament where you can plan for most things, but sometimes you gotta try and break through in a bad spot.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's why you physically got him on camera in his worst matchup, right? That's just what friends do?
That was my instructions, yes. The director was only put Harlan on if it's against Omniscience.
If it's a bad matchup, yeah, exactly. We gotta have him fighting upstream here. So, Voice of Victory coming in for some beatdowns, attacking for 3, heading back to Bailey. Let's see if there is an answer. Now, no land drop from Harlan here, which is going to be pretty brutal. Let's see if there's a temporary lockdown. Bang! There they go.
All right, so there are 2 main deck Lorans here on Harlan's side. Let me break this up, hopefully. And a Get Lost too. Unfortunately, the interaction in there you go. Interaction in Harlan's deck is not lining up great here. Burst Lightning, Lightning Helix, Abrade, Sheltered by Ghosts. All of these cards are not really for this matchup. So kind of on the beatdown plan in game 1 with a little bit of interaction, and then game 2 we'll see some more stuff. Yeah,
definitely seems like, you know, we always look at these standard decks when there's a deck that's 35+% of the metagame in the lens that how do they do against the big deck the deck that every single one of these competitors figured would be the most played deck, as it is it Prowess? And it looks pretty solid against that. Screaming Nemesis, Abrades in the main deck to deal with Corey Steelcutter. This definitely seems like this is not only a Harlan brew, but a deck very much ready to and does pretty confidently beat the Izzet deck.
And that is what the brewers do, where they don't just brew, they brew with purpose.
Yes.
You know, it's not just like, I'm going to build this cool deck. It's like finding the cool deck that lines up well with the current metagame.
Yep, absolutely. So here could be a Burst Lightning on the temporary lockdown, something we don't say very often. And Harlan had the ability to kind of destroy it with the ability on the stack, but hey, clean up those maps. It's minor, but hey, it's still a thing. Now we get a big old attack for 9 in, and there's no Umbrella, or there's no Omniscience in the board, so it's not like we're comboing right now unless we can surveil an Omniscience into the board, so things looking quite good for Harlan.
Yeah, it's funny how we just spent 2 minutes talking about how the interaction doesn't line up right.
Yes.
And Burst Lightning kills a lockdown. Didn't know it could do that, you know?
Yeah, no kidding. Gotta love the spice. There's stock up and a couple of lands, so if there's nothing to stop the attack, and to be fair, this is Azorius Omniscience deck. Sure, they have lockdown. Sure, they have some dispersals. But outside of that, they play a lot of air to get to the combo. And by air, I mean card draw, moment of truth, that kind of stuff. And looks like Harlan's able to take down, I feel like the game he has to win with a deck like this.
So huge
Yeah.
in these bad matches to win game 1. And we see a bit of the allure here of, like, you know, we watched Domain versus Omniscience earlier. Tough matchup, you know?
Yeah.
But Harlan's deck, you know, everyone has a plan to get punched in the mouth, you know?
Yes.
It comes out swinging. It has enough creatures where you can get in for a reasonably aggressive attacks pretty early, put on a clock. We saw one piece interaction with the Get Lost, I guess the Burst Lightning as well. Takes it down.
I see Invasion of Gobakon there from Harlan's side. Are you bringing in that kind of card against Omniscience, or what is Harlan doing?
Yeah, Invasion seems phenomenal. That's like the White Thoughtseize effect, which is
Yeah.
excellent. And then 4 Magebane Lizard. Pretty exciting card in sideboards for this tournament because it's obviously great against Izzet. That plays many, many spells. It's great here too. The Omniscience deck, the Omni deck cannot combo off with a Magebane in play because it involves just casting a bajillion spells. So Magebane's great. We got a little Ghost Vacuum action too. Even Destroy Evil. Another spot where like most of a sideboard can just come in here, and obviously, you know, Lightning Helixes and Abrades can get out of the deck, and we can see a much more interactive game in game 2.
Sounds right. How about from Bailey's side? What do we do up against? And I mean, to be fair, Bailey is not going to be prepared for this Boros deck. You know, you can be prepared for mid-range style matchups, that kind of thing, but you know Bailey has not tested against this deck.
I would be surprised if so, yes. But Beza and Overlord here, kind of like the transformational plan, looks quite nice. Of course, the Clarion Conqueror can also turn off Ghost Vacuum. So this creature package looks pretty nice, and this is a real, you know, Zig versus Zag scenario where Harlan looks like there's a lot of cards coming in, a lot of his kill spells are going out. That makes the creatures on Bailey's side good, but Harlan sees this too and knows that, so if Harlan does the, you know, this and that, it's just, you know, well, it's clearly the way you want in front of you, in front of me, whatever kind of thing. So
I like it.
So yeah, so it's definitely some fun jockeying here. Would not be surprised to see Bailey go back to the sideboard for game 3. Shuffle things around a little bit.
Oh shoot!
Beza and Overlord probably the most important cards.
All right, well, Bailey is going through the sideboard. Let's take a look at our newsletter. If you want to stay on top of everything when it comes to Star City Games, make sure to go to starcitygames.com/newsletter. You will get notified anytime there is pre-order starting, sales on singles, when the next event is. Basically anything having to do with these SCG cons, the newsletter is going to contain it. And as you were saying earlier, you know, they don't overdo it. They send you the information you need, and they don't keep flooding you with it. So make sure to sign up for this newsletter. I've been signed up for a very long time, and it's nice to know exactly what's going on at these Star City Games events. All right, getting back into it. Both players at 3-1. You feel great going in at 4-1. Of course, ideally, everyone would like to be 5-0, but after 5 rounds, you sit at 4-1. You're going to be feeling very good about your tournament. 3-2, you know, when you have 4 more rounds left to go, where you feel like you got to win them all to be really have a good chance tomorrow, or you can lose once. You know, it doesn't feel the best when you're going into those last 4 rounds, Jim.
For sure. Yeah, the middle part of the tournament's definitely, you know, the teetering point. We're about at that point, you know, where whoever loses this match is still super alive. But there's a, you know, an amount of momentum as the day goes on. You know, we're not machines. You know, we are human beings, and we are definitely subject to the whims of, you know, round one jitters, you know, the mid-round kind of push, and then late round kind of getting over.
What about that? I'm
Yeah.
curious.
So the more you can make those late rounds easier for yourself, the better it is.
Yeah, 100%. You start off a tournament, you're feeling good,
So,
you're playing great.
Instead
But then,
of
like you
if
said,
backpack
we
is
are
not
indeed
full,
human,
let's
so
say
by the
if
end,
hand is full.
it's very hard to play a perfect tournament. Or it's impossible.
Impossible.
You know, like, it's pretty hard to play a perfect match.
Yep.
It's hard to play a perfect game, you know, so you want to make sure and get yourself a lot of wins early so you can afford to stumble, you know, when you kind of have to, or maybe draw poorly in a match. Give yourself that leeway so you're still live for top 8, even with a little bit of bad luck
Alright,
on
so
your
yeah,
side.
let's change this to
It's
if
fun watching the different kind of
hands
players too.
full.
Where some players
then
thrive with their backs
stow.
against the wall,
Yes.
and some players are the opposite. They're very momentum focused. They start off 5-0 and 6-0. They're a freight train. They take an early loss though, and they derail.
Yeah.
You know, so it's kind of fun watching each different kind of player go
I
through.
wonder if
tournaments.
that's
What
gonna
kind of
mess
player
that
are
up.
It's funny,
We'll
I'm
watch
kind
it
of a
happen,
player,
see what it does.
where
First,
my
gotta clear
losses
out
and
the
wins have been
blades and a
bunches,
build.
Yeah.
which I noticed a lot playing the PT last few years. I don't really know why exactly, but often win 4 or 5, lose 3 or 4, up and down.
Yeah. I mean, I do see you half the time, you know, in the tournament halls after you lose 2 matches, you're just throwing your deck box at the wall. Is that part of your process, or is that just you being on tilt?
I'm just testing its durability.
Ah,
I
okay.
didn't throw it. I was just testing its durability.
You were placing it.
Right.
Okay, my bad, my bad. All right, Roiling Dragonstorm to get us started, and Fear of missing out from
Well, it
Harlan, able
worked.
to get some aggression going. Discards the Cavern, so it does not have Omniscience in the yard to kind of put Harlan in check. So we'll see if Bailey can have a little bit stronger of a draw this game. And, you know, if Harlan is going
And then
to
we
put
switch
as
this
much
to
pressure
if hand's empty.
down as we saw the first game. You know,
So we
the
actually
first
don't
only
need this
2-drop,
anymore
2-drop, and a
either.
3-drop, nothing
That clears this
super
up.
exciting, but they hit hard. And,
Yep.
and you think, like, God, if you can fear of missing out, like a voice of victory or something too, like, you can do some nasty stuff with this card as well.
Yeah, Voice of Victory is a card I'm really impressed with.
Yeah.
It looks so innocent as a 1-3 until you realize it's actually just 3-3.
Yeah.
And then the ability to make your opponent like play very, very awkwardly, not on your turn, even if it's not counter spells. It's just card draw spells or interaction. It's also especially good against a Forest Dispersal and Ride's End, cards that must be cast in your opponent's turn for the most part.
Yeah.
So
No, definitely a phenomenal spot to be at. You know, you play against Jeskai Control or something from Harlan's Boros deck, like, man, shutting off every single counterspell, not only is it going to affect the in-game, just how the game is going to play out, but it's going to affect how your opponent sideboards. They might be taking out all their counterspells, where counterspells are normally good against a Boros mid-range deck. You know, like being able to counter No More Lies, your opponent's 4-drop or whatever, is
It
usually
feels a
great
little
exchange.
smoother.
Do you leave those in if they have Voice of Victory? Who knows? Here's Biza.
and Biza is so good.
So good. I feel like we're going to be saying this all weekend.
Yeah.
Biza is just incredible.
Like it's almost overshadowed a bit because of how Monstrous Rage can kind of push through it.
Yeah.
And most of the aggro decks are so predicated on Monstrous Rage. But Beza is just an unbelievable defensive force.
Yeah, absolutely impressive. And we're going to be seeing it for a long time, you know, in one of our most recent sets here in Bloomburrow. So when we see rotation, the powerful Elemental Elk or Monstrous Rage for that, we'll still be seeing that.
Let's slow down quite a bit at the end.
And here is Screaming Nemesis. I love the shortcut. You know, Harlan's been playing for a while, like, why play it untapped and then tap it? You know.
Would retrieve work?
Yeah. Comes in with the Nemesis, and man, that is a tough creature to block.
Let's get them.
Yeah, that being said, though, it was at a pretty safe 19.
Yeah.
And then with this, you know, kind of wall of fish and elemental elks, has a lot of time to get set up here. And, you know, Harlan has some interaction, but not a ton. There aren't counter spells here. You know, there isn't really a lot of graveyard hate aside from the Ghost Vacuums. So right now, advantage Bailey for sure.
Yeah, and it's all permanent-based interaction from Harlan, right? We don't really have too many spells that interact. Sure, you could see the Burst Lightning on, you know, a lockdown or something that got brought back from Umbrello's Awakening, but I think that was something that was a little unique that we saw from the last game. Here's Screaming Nemesis number 2, and double Screaming Nemesis plus double Fear of Missing Out getting in there.
Yeah, so Bailey attacking with Basilisk turns a pretty strong signifier that there's going to be a lot of interaction on this attack step.
Yeah.
You know, while you don't want to block the Nemesis with the Beza, Bomo's a great block. You know, so
Yeah, it's just
That's
doing one at a
strange to attack
time.
with it, wouldn't you think?
I think it's just Bailey saying that, like, hey, I'm going to threaten a fair game too.
Yeah.
We've seen these Omniscience decks win a lot of games of combat damage in the post-board games, and just making sure that it's not one-dimensional, where you say, I'm attacking you for a bit also. Didn't know second Nemesis was coming either.
Yeah.
But, you know, kind of making sure that I'm going to pressure you here, and then also threaten combo too.
But how much interaction would you have to make this attack? Like, dispersal, double, get lost?
Doesn't
Would that be
matter.
that? What if
I think
the
it's-
only
they're both
interaction
just
is
the
these
same.
two spells?
Oh,
Would
not
you still
so.
stand by the attack type thing?
Yeah, I
We'll
think
just
two is
do that.
reasonable.
Okay.
You know, because I think that taking 4 off of these FOMOs.
All right, we're
just
kind of
still push the
curious.
block later. Spy, now you're in a reasonably even racing scenario.
Well, here,
I
let's
think it's
let
definitely
you.
fine.
Okay.
I like the pressure.
So there was Burst Lightning on the Screaming Nemesis, and then it went upstairs. So an invisible emblem is here. You know, I feel like nobody's ever actually owned the emblem from Screaming Nemesis. I don't think I've ever actually seen a physical one.
It's actually not an emblem.
It's not a thing.
It's just
okay.
hey, don't forget about this.
Yeah, that's right.
Which,
that's right.
Which is very, very strange.
Yes. Because you know what Magic players do from time to time? Forget about this.
Correct.
Yeah, yeah.
It actually has precedent, though. Sigma Lasher, I think, was the first card to ever have that ability.
Okay.
Same templating, where
Sure.
just the player can't gain life rest of the game.
Okay.
No emblem, no... So, a little weird, but...
So we'll just remember it collectively.
Yep.
Because it comes into play, something like that, it will not be gaining any life for the rest of the turn. And hey, if that Burst Lightning was already going to go face, might as well aim it at the Nemesis. I like that. Now here is the lockdown. Not only getting 2 Fear of Missing Out, but getting 2 Roiling Dragonstorm. So if Harlan ever does want to deal with that lockdown, now Bailey will get some value coming back as well. So I wouldn't be too shocked if Harlan is like, yeah, I'll ignore that lockdown here, unless it would be to actually kill Bailey.
It is pretty fun in this format, how much interaction there is with lockdowning your own stuff.
Yeah.
You know, like, this is really, really a thing you wouldn't consider maybe, but it's very, very relevant.
Yes, definitely, especially if we're going to see some Orzhov Pixie decks.
Yep.
I mean, Orzhov Pixie utilizes lockdown almost like a Yorion ETB would. You know, like with that ability where you can play it, exile your own stuff, then bounce it to get some value. It has a Yorion-esque feel to it. Plus, it can just be a lockdown to deal with your opponent's stuff. Absolutely love that deck. So great against Izzet. And it's just a really, really cool deck. There's the Ghost Vacuum from Harlan to have some interaction for the combo.
Well, it got a little slower, so I have to
Just
keep
like
that
I was
in
saying, you know,
mind.
these Bailey's attacks so far, pushing the race into their favor. You know, we see 12 life, about to
Yeah, we're
use.
gonna have to do that.
And now we see a big dumb dragon, you know, and we've seen this a lot from the Omni deck, where
Yep.
post board, forget the combo, I'm just gonna beat you down with some pretty good mythic rares.
Yeah, absolutely. I was going to see if we were going to get super frisky and bounce that lockdown. That'd be a little dangerous, I must say, but hey, I'd be here for it. Instead, bounce the creatures. Now all of a sudden Bailey's on the aggressive, and you know what? We haven't seen it all. The combo, anywhere to be found, and Bailey's still looking like he's going to get it done.
This is where a Meringue River Regent just looks so good in this deck. You know,
It's such a phenomenal card.
you know, Coil and Catch the instant speed sift would be close to playable in the deck without the Dragon half, but the Dragon half both facilitating the combo as well as just being like
Oh,
a card to cast. You know, a 6/7 is quite large. You know, if you're behind, it can turn a board. If you're ahead, like in a game like this, in the post-board games, the creatures, you push you some damage. Just
Yeah.
great stuff.
It's hard to find a spot where this card is bad. The thing is, it's not amazing up against Izzet Prowess just in general. Like 4 mana spell can get Spell Pierce pretty easily, and
Oh, where
when
were
you're playing
we?
it to bounce something, everything's so cheap from Prowess that it ends up being just okay. But it's still facilitating, you know, discarding the Omniscience, so it can't be that bad, you know?
Harlan going for the Hail Mary here of flip over the Quarry land in the attack step, trying to maybe a get lost, something like that.
Yep.
And he looks to stay alive is actually not stay alive, right? Because there's no life gain.
Isn't it just your opponent can't gain life? Or is it just no getting life?
I'm sorry, I had it backwards, right?
Okay, okay.
My bad. Usually Helix is playing the defensive deck, so I
Yes.
And it's weird because we've flipped here where Harlan is playing defense.
Yes.
Which is odd, but what this Omni deck's capable of.
Absolutely. Yeah, we haven't really seen Lightning Helix and Screaming Nemesis together too often. The Boros Mice Shell for a little bit, you know, had that combination, but yeah, slightly odd there for sure. Here's Fear of Missing Out. Discard a land. See what we can find. Feels like desperation, and it indeed was. Game number 2 going to Bailey, and so far, no Omnisciences came into play.
Yeah, the
how many treasures are here? It's gotten down.
Harlan, but this sort of sideboard pseudo control plan is not bad either. You know, I mean, it does put a lot of weight on Beza, which we saw.
Let's add a 4th.
Absolutely, completely turn the game around. But it's very effective. You know, the dragon and the overlord, plenty of threats, and can kind of make
so then we're gonna use what were we using for judges before?
Yeah, no, 100%. Any changes you make when it comes to play draw here, Jim, or still just kind of business as usual?
They're the regular gold
I think it's
bot.
less about play draw and more just about the feel of what each player wants to do for game 3. You know, where you know we just saw Bailey win an extremely combat-oriented creature-y game.
Sure.
Does that make Harlan bring in a few more kill spells and shave down on the lizards? And then does that make Bailey want to maybe look more combo for game 3? You know, so it's a real song and dance. I absolutely adore transformational sideboards in Magic. You know, because it really becomes a sort of game of chess where it's like, all right, well, you're thinking this. I felt like you really like this and you're going to stay that way, so I'm going to do this in game 3. And there's just a bunch of play back and forth.
I love it too. I especially love it in closed deckless tournaments. Totally get we need open deckless tournaments. Makes a lot of sense. When we have coverage, it is an unfair advantage to show off people's decks. You know, and you shouldn't be disadvantaged because you're a name in the community, you have a cool deck, so we show it on the broadcast kind of thing. But transformational sideboards, when it's closed deckless, you can really get people pretty good, which is pretty cool.
Yeah, I love it. My first Pro Tour, there was a Harpy to Spring combo deck in Standard.
Yeah.
And I lost to player's actually banned now, I think. But and he completely had a 15-card creature sideboard.
Yeah.
Just boarded all creatures, boarded out the entire combo, and this is my first Pro Tour. Game 2, I was stunned.
Yeah.
It was just creature on 2, creature on 3, creature on 4, GT. And I was just but you comboed me in game 1.
But you comboed me.
That's not fair.
It was like a classic welcome to the Pro Tour, kid, huh?
Yep.
So, we are sideboarding here. Let's put up our sponsor slide and give a shout out.
He had his phone
here.
up by mistake.
Shout out to Dragon Shields and
Anyone
Beckett
talking about
for
it?
sponsoring Live Paper Magic. Absolutely love what they are doing. Dragon Shields been an industry leader in the sleeve game forever. You know, absolutely forever. And Beckett, if you got any really nice cards, you want them graded. They're also at most of these events. I've went to Beckett and I've talked to them. You know, you can do some cool stuff in person as well if you're going to be at any of these SCG events. Get your stuff graded. I believe they take it back, you know, to their area, grade it, and then they mail it to you. They don't do any grading on site or anything, but yeah, you can really get some cool stuff going on with Beckett. So thanks to our sponsors. We appreciate you.
That'd be kind of cool if it was on site.
Yes.
Take the card, look at it. I'd give it a 6.
Yeah. Just one guy is like, yeah, you know what? I'll judge this right now.
6.3.
Yeah, apparently they do it at the Magic Cons.
I'm still choking a bit at the blade level, but
yeah, I guess they.
I'm not hurting.
The full force here.
The judges are going.
Let's check that out when I'm at this next Magic Con here in Vegas. That's some cool stuff. So thanks to our sponsors as we get underway here. Got a Surveil land into Harlan. Being able to play Invasion of Gobakon. One thing I'd love about Invasion against this Omniscient deck, if you see an Omniscience, you can take it, and they are not ever casting that. I'll tell you that.
All right, look, it's not non-zero.
Okay.
Just because it costs 12 mana doesn't mean they can't cast it at some point.
Hey, that's true. That's true. Yeah, no cheating it into play, though, when it's removed with Invasion of Gobakon. So what are you taking here, Jim?
So let's see, we got a hand of Get Lost, see an Overlord, stock up Abuelos and 3 lands. Obviously without Omniscience, or even really a discard outlet. The Abuelos not very exciting. Honestly, the Overlords will get a feeling, but Stock Up too. Stock Up's the card. This hand looks kind of weak, you know, so Stock Up's the kind of card that would fix it. There is some fear that the Overlord is just really, really good.
Yeah.
You know, but we see Harlan valuing. We can't see the cards in Harlan's hand. Harlan can.
Yeah.
So Harlan
So
clearly
Iowa.
is protecting or an enchant we're protecting.
Makes sense. So Get Lost is the pick. That's
Farmland.
I believe that Harlan has a plan to, let's say, play a fear, or not a fear missing out, a Screaming Nemesis.
We're
and
right
attack
about
this
here.
invasion.
Iowa City's like right
Even
here.
better. Even better. Be able to
Davenport's like
discard
right
some
here.
cards,
Bettendorf,
draw two.
Moline's like
Let's
over
see
here.
if Bailey
Rock
found the
Island.
interaction. If not, a flipped invasion
Chicago.
is big game.
If not
Pretty
more.
cool. So this makes the creatures grow every turn, and the battle can be sacrificed or the enchantment.
Sand
can be
movers are
exposed.
done.
To give your team hexproof, indestructible. So nice way to kind of defend. And then the growth is important too. Where like now there's one
sand
creature's a
here.
threat. If Bailey tries to kill it, or if as far as dispersal it, it can be fizzled.
Yeah.
And then every turn gets bigger and bigger.
Yeah, really, really big game here. And let's see what we have. So we did draw a dispersal, or it's just time to stock it up. Now we should have 5 cards in hand, so it's not going to be the case like, oh, if you find Omniscience, sometimes that's nice. When you go up to 8 cards, just discard it to clean up. That's not going to be the case as we have 5 cards there. And now Harlan's going to have one more turn to kind of just get as aggressive and as
we need to take care of
proactive as
those
he possibly
first,
can,
actually.
and maybe make it so Bailey is a little too far behind.
Yeah, it's interesting to see the cards Harlan discarded.
Yeah.
Left in a lot of the burn spells. You kind of just have to.
Yeah.
You know, the way Harlan's deck is constructed, you just can't cut that many cards. And these are at least cards that give you reach, you know, where they're discarded here, they're not a main part of the plan. But if Harlan gets to do a spot where, you know, Bailey falls down to 2 or 3 life, but can't quite kill him, and then facing down a combo, that could end that game 1 turn sooner, which is not great, but still reasonably important.
What are you talking about? They both destroyed temporary lockdown brought back from Umbrello's Awakening.
We have seen that happen a surprising amount of times.
Yes, yeah. AK1.
Yeah. If I had a nickel, I'd only have 1, but
Hey, that's all right.
still kind of weird.
If I had a nickel, I'd have 1 nickel. Harlan's follow-up is here. Oh, we got a fear of missing out. Discard a land. Instant and land, so a couple types away from Delirium.
So now the issue here for Harlan's deck is not great at getting Delirium. It's mostly creatures and instants. There are a few enchantments, a few planeswalkers. The Gobakon itself is actually a battle, so that would count. And that can be sacrificed at any point. So you could see like a surprise Delirium.
Sure.
Sacrifice in the battle, but Delirium is not super easy to achieve with Harlan's deck.
Yeah, it really isn't. Playing a fear of missing out next turn, discarding fear of missing out. That's spicy. Get you right to Delirium, but that is a lot of things you have to do here. And just a land and pass to Harlan. Big turn of this game. I see a River Regent from Bailey, so that's maybe the plan is
there only one of
Harlan
them?
doesn't do anything
That wouldn't
too
surprise
busted,
me.
and then just sift and hope to win the game next turn. That doesn't feel great, though.
Yeah, that's the scary part of this deck where, like, you know, you've been saying a lot about the idea of being in check.
Yes.
When the Omni's in the graveyard, it completely changes how your opponent has to play. It is not there yet.
Now that it's empty, it
looks
should get
like
filled
a
in too,
coiled
right?
catch. So it could be, you know, it's Schrodinger's omniscience, if you will. You know, so it might be there, it might not be there, and Harlan has to prepare for that because this looks very much like a draw 3 discard 1.
Yeah, and even if it's not there, you know, half the time you're like, okay, if I don't find the combo and I find a lockdown, I can clear away your battlefield. That's not the case with what Harlan has set up. You know, Harlan has a strong 3-drop that with this attack, it getting pumped next turn, and if all Bailey had was just lockdown, that's probably not enough. Bailey would either need to combo off, you know, which is kind of the best plan. The best way to survive, kill your opponent, believe it or not. Or second best, lockdown and a dispersal, something like that to be able to clean up all the permanents.
It's also a bit of a wrench in the plan here, too, that, like, Harlan has these random burn spells in his deck.
Yeah.
So you can't be quite sure about the
I don't have any stone collectors.
Where you might be 2 or 3 life lower than you think you are.
Yeah.
Thus shaving a turn off your plan of setting
Weird.
off.
Absolutely. Bailey just said,
Not a big deal,
I'll
just kind of
take it.
random.
I'll take all this damage, no big deal. And a post-combat fear of missing out. That would lead me to believe that we're not going to get Delirium right now.
It's Planeswalker.
Okay. So the battle could give Delirium, right? But the fact that you know, we still want this for the counters. And if there is any kind of direct
I'm gonna put this
cards that are
back.
being targeted for Harlan, there was Omniscience. So Omniscience is in the yard. Counters go up. And now let's see if Bailey has it, or if Harlan could do anything about it. I'm not seeing a lot of ways that Harlan could interact in general.
We're going to see that usual one turn or one step window where Omni comes into play as a 1/1. When that first spell is cast, do you have a Destroy Evil? Do you have a burn spell? Some way to kill it? And there's the Abuelos.
Okay, here it is. Is this game just over in favor of Bailey?
Ooh.
Abnir.
So that's the way to play around it, by your first spell being a second Omniscience.
Yep.
So now if you kill it, you still want to play. That being said, if the cards that are available to Bailey are Omniscience and Beza, you might not have the critical mass of card draw you needed to fully go off here.
Yep, absolutely. Still get the fish, even though you have 2 creatures. And now you got to think this might be completely slipped out of hand. We see an Overlord. I see 2 more River Regents in hand, as well as that Dispersal plus the land. I think Bailey's got this one.
That's a lot of card draw, yeah.
That is a lot of card draw.
And the problem is that even if it's not, you know, we see a Fizzle here, which puts 2 dragons into play.
Yep.
Great.
Yeah.
Good luck, Harlan. You know, like.
Yeah, put 2 dragons into play, bounce Harlan's whole board, have a Beza, have some fish.
Yep.
Looks like Bailey's not even going for that. I believe we did see the Founding the Third Path just drawn, so that's available. Why not? He has 10 more power.
Yeah, some decks are able to overcome, you know, Overlord and friends.
Yeah.
Harlan's deck is not really built like that.
No, not really. Harlan was 1 turn
Harlan
away
has no
from
wrath. Yeah.
beating the matchup that, well, he definitely did not want to play against. It makes sense. Azorius Omniscience gets to kind of do the thing that Boros mid-range historically has struggled against, and gets to do it well. Be a control deck and be a combo deck. That is not what you want to face when you are a deck that is playing just good rares and mythic rares at 2, 3, and 4.
For sure, yeah. Really, really cool deck, you know, and then, you know, our field is about 10% Omniscience.
Yep.
So, in theory, you know, in 10 rounds, you play against it once. We have about 15 rounds to play. I want to make top 8.
Yep.
So, you know, you're going to see it 1.5 times. Hopefully that's Harlan's 1 time, and he can dodge the rest of the way. We'll see how the pairing gods go for Harlan, you know, but deck look really, really cool, and obviously a great player and a great brewer.
Yep, we'll definitely see. And if Harlan plays against Azorius a couple times, at least you got complaint equity at dinner. That's a secondary prize. So we got a secondary match ready for you. Let's head on down. We got a spicy one as well. All right, so we got Nicole Tipple on top or on bottom, not sure. Names looks like they're switched. And Perry Fang playing, I know Nicole is playing Is It Prowess, so we got that. And Perry is playing Mono Red. All right. All right, so this is recording, so we'll not be able to get that adjusted, just a heads up. So we got Nicole with 2 gorgeous lands.
Yeah, they're fine.
Ah, how dare you? How dare you?
As a note, also, the life totals will be correct.
Okay,
So
yeah.
bottom life, we see Nicole's camera, we see Nicole's life total.
They're my second favorite next to the other lands that John Avon does. I am just the largest John Avon fan when it comes to these landscape lands. So,
John Avon's great, but give me an invasion island.
Okay.
You know, not this full art stuff.
Wow. Wow. Can you believe it? Can you believe it?
Speaking of a lizard in the main deck, boom.
Wow.
Main deck lizard. The deck that won the Magic Online Challenge a few days ago. I think the most recent challenge was a mono red deck playing 4 main deck lizards.
Really?
Yep.
That is very wild to me, but it makes a lot of sense. In an Is It world, you know, mono red's got to adapt a little bit. So, yeah, really cool stuff here.
Yeah, it's an Is It and Omniscience world. So that's great there, too. So it's great against half the field, serviceable otherwise, and if it's bad, just pour it out.
Yeah. And, you know, 4 Witchstalker Frenzies in this list as well here from Perry. So really, really cool stuff. Really innovative list. Only plays 3 Lizard, though, so.
All right.
Just said, you know what? 4th Lizard, too much. Put that one in the sideboard.
You got to commit to the bit, you know?
Yeah, yeah. I love it. So, it looks like Nicole is stocking up. See what we can find here. And passes the turn back. When you're up against mono red, even when you're on the play, just stock up when you don't have anything on the battlefield. It does feel a little brutal, but when Nicole was able to have a removal spell on one, makes this a lot more manageable.
Yeah, honestly, stock up's obviously great. Don't get me wrong. I think the stock up looks the worst from Izzet on turn 3.
Yeah.
You know, when you are not getting that prowess trigger, you're not getting a Corey Steelcutter trigger, you know, it's just kind of, it's a sigh of relief for your opponent typically.
I think the ideal kind of sequence from these Izzet decks is just turn 3, Corey Steelcutter, spell. Turn 4, stock up, spell. Even if you don't have a spell with your stock up, you just cast stock up, you find a 1-drop, and then you find something else. That's the play patterns that I've noticed, you know, yield me the most wins when I'm playing Izzet. Which I did play a good amount of Izzet last night. I was like, you know, let's see how much this deck has changed in the last few weeks. It's a pretty good deck, Jim. It's a pretty good deck, I must say.
It is very Phoenix and Pioneer-esque, where it's just so smooth. All the cards are so cheap. A lot of hand smoothing, a lot of card draw, a lot of game actions. And it can kill you really fast, too.
Yep. Oh, look at those beautiful otter tokens. Love it. Good job, Nicole. Taking some damage. Taking 1 from the first Lizard trigger. 3 in total, second from the second one. So a good chunk of damage here. And now we get in for 2.
Yeah, Lizard does attack also. It's not an enchantment.
Yeah.
So that first, 1 point of power is not great, but that 4th toughness makes it pretty hard to kill.
Yeah. Okay, so getting life totals adjusted here. And reminder, everyone, sorry about the name mix-up here. Life totals are accurate. So on the bottom, Nicole Tipple at 7. Up top, Perry Fang at 18. And the Lizard goes back to hand. We got ourselves an opt. Ouch, take 1. Usually when you play opts in this Izzet deck, they essentially deal damage in the form of these prowess triggers that you're getting. It's not often that they would deal damage to you. Obviously, the Lizard's not on the field now, but normally. Yeah, it's kind of backwards.
It adds up quick, too.
It really does.
It's not like, you know, Eidolon of the Great Rebel where it's just like, you know, a fixed amount.
Yeah.
It's 1, then 2, then 3, then 4. So the bigger turn they want to have, the more damage they have to take.
Oh, yeah. Oh, my time with Underworld Breach, which was cut short far too soon. I hated that Lizard. Hated it.
Yep.
It's way too good against that deck.
The big thing about the Lizard is that booty. 4 toughness is a lot, you know?
Yeah.
Like, it's not an easy card to kill, and typically being seen against these decks with damage-based removal, 4's hard. It's hard to kill, and you see Nicole here had to bounce it, which is not a permanent solution, not even a great solution, but just to kind of get a good turn going here.
Exactly. So Corey Steelcutter played as the second spell. Not necessarily ideal, but hey, what can you do? Here comes a good chunk of damage in. All right, and Perry down to 10. And gonna be heading back with Perry
think we screwed
able
up.
to animate the Soulstone Sanctuary at end step and be able to have a nice turn with an Emberheart Challenger. You got to think there's plenty of ways that Perry can piece together a win this turn.
Yeah, pretty big shields down moment for Nicole. I would not be surprised to see a Flood Maw or some other point of interaction. Otherwise, in pretty grievous danger. With the Lizard coming down also, so the threat being the more damage you take.
Yeah, we need the sand movers to fill this stuff in first.
So let's see if Perry's able to get really aggressive here. Starting with the Lizard leads me to believe that, hey, we're not going to cast a Monstrous Rage after that, which that would be the card I'd be most afraid of from Nicole's side.
Yeah, sort of like a soft forcing of the action here for Perry.
Yep.
Nicole doesn't have to respond to this, but taking an
Gotta get rid of all this water before we start dredging. And then we'll have to get rid of this thing too.
Do want to wait and deceive a little bit, or don't want to, just kind of not take the point of damage?
In fact, we're just gonna do that now.
And here comes an attack for 5. And with absolutely no blockers or anything. That's pretty scary. One burst lightning and this game's over. Now there is only one, excuse me, there's the full 4 burst lightnings here from Perry, so we'll see if it's there.
The problem is that Nicole just can't cast cast 2 spells, not 2 non-creature spells.
Yeah.
So it can be a creature to trigger cutter number 2, but need to cobble together 10 damage through 2 blockers, a good amount of toughness, with not a lot to work with.
And only one red source, the Shivan Reap. You know, you can't cast double Monstrous Rage. I guess you couldn't do that anyways, but Swift Spear Monstrous Rage, not on the table, with only one red source that doesn't deal you damage. I see an Into the Flood Maw, though, there from Nicole. That opens the door. There is the Otter. I think, right? Oh, no, that's Drake.
Drake Hatchery.
Yep, okay.
I'm hungry.
And then there is Into the Flood Maw. Trigger.
So I think we're gonna
Steel Cutters.
go get some
Nicole's gonna go
food.
down to 1. And what do we bounce, Jim?
I mean, I would think the Lizard, if Nicole has another spell, you know, like...
Yeah. Or the land
It's
as
2
it
o'clock.
hits harder
Wow.
on the crackback.
Later than I thought
Yeah,
it was
Nicole
already.
at 1 now because of the Lizard damage. Anything is lethal, so if this is going to be a reasonable attack, the board's getting kind of cluttery here.
Yep, so this is 5 2/2s coming in. That is not enough for lethal as it stands. I was going to say one opt would have been lethal, but with this Lizards in play, it's pretty clearly not in hand for Nicole. I think I saw stock up as the last card too. I'm not 100% sure, but...
If that's the case, this is a weird attack, right? Like, if it's not a lethal attack,
it would be.
and now just dead on the backswing, give it 2 creatures.
Yep.
So a more tempered attack, leaving back a few blockers. So thumbs up here.
Yep.
It's very aggressive though.
Now we'll see. It is the players that are controlling the life total down at the feature match. So, hey, maybe Perry's at 8. You know, like...
That would be a little bit different.
Yeah, that would make a little more sense, but I would agree. This is leaving Nicole dead on the crackback.
And there are...
Okay.
Yeah, so the only real thing there could have been like maybe a second Drake Catcher
Yeah.
as the only spell that could be cast that would block. It's the only blue creature in the deck.
Yep.
But yeah, not there.
Not there. And game number 1 going to Perry Fang. So, looking at Nicole Tipple's Is It list, any big changes from this list? I feel like Sunspine Links, as a 4 of, isn't necessarily stock, but that is a lot. Oh, excuse me, they are flipped. This is gonna keep getting me. This is gonna keep getting me. So sorry about that. That makes a lot more sense coming from Mono Red. So Nicole's list up top. What are we sideboarding in here up against Perry?
A little more direction.
'Kay.
You know, just a braid. Removal spells. Fire Annihilation is the 5 damage exile spell, I believe. You know, which 5 damage spell these next play is often up for debate.
No, this
Yeah,
isn't
good amount of 5
on
damage, they all have
sand,
minor
is it?
upsides. That's really it. Yeah, Torch Tower.
Okay,
You know,
no.
Witness Protection is an interesting one. It is a 1-mana enchantment that turns a creature into a 1/1 with no abilities. That can be nice against Screaming Nemesis.
Yep.
There aren't many ways to remove that in the Izzet decks, but not too much happening here. Just a little, you know, season to taste removal spells here or there. That's really it.
And just so many one-ofs there. I think there's, you know, any correlation between like a sideboard that has a bunch of one-ofs, you know, versus just a stock 4x of this, 4x of that, between like, you know, how amazing of a player they are. Like, I feel like the more one-ofs you see, the more maybe that these players deeply understand their deck and are more comfortable with this small amount of slots.
I think that's partially true, but there's
Yeah.
some causation also where like good players tend to play decks with a lot of cantrips in them.
Yeah.
And a lot of velocity, and those decks benefit from playing more one-ofs because
Yeah.
they get to see them more often. So I think there's a bit of both happening there.
Sure.
But this deck, you know, and the thing is with these one-ofs is that they're all similar.
Mm-hmm.
Disdainful Stroke and Negate are similar. You usually want them in the same spots, but not always. You know, Torch the Tower, you know, Fire Annihilation, more removal spells, whatever else it might be. You know, so they kind of do similar things, but having a variety pack with the cantrips gives them some flexibility.
Okay, and then from the other side, from Perry's side, what are we bringing in up against Is It?
So Barrage is an interesting one, where it is one of the few clean answers to Draycatcher, which is very good in these damage-based removal matchups. Doesn't have like a ton of targets otherwise.
Yeah, not really.
The kind of card that's nice to break serve if you are on the draw.
There we go.
But otherwise, your removal spells here or there. Not trying to fight the Abrade fight, which I think is very, very reasonable. Just going to try and do the mono red thing and get him dead. So probably a few more kill spells. Not too much else.
Okay, very reasonable. I do.
I'm sorry, and the 4th Lizard.
And the 4th Lizard.
Right,
Yeah, I mean, come on, get that in immediately. Lizards are far too busted.
And we saw that game. Lizard was great.
Yeah.
Lizard was a constant problem for Nicole. Lizard had to be answered, and then once it, Nicole can't really answer it super well.
Yeah.
As far as just killing it, so you gotta kind of bounce it, and then like take your turn around it. It's coming back next turn, so it is a very, very annoying card for these Izzet decks.
The most annoying card to deal with, that is for sure. So, Perry Fang on mono red, going to be starting off the action here. Definitely what mono red wants to be doing. I do like the look of this new mono red deck. It looks solid, because I feel like mono red just keeps falling in popularity, falling and falling, as it's just not as strong of a deck when Is It keeps popping up. It's not getting any new tools, so I like that it's getting restructured a bit, and it makes sense that the Lizard is just so good that it's worth the main deck slot in this metagame.
Yeah, this is format evolution in action.
Yep.
Which is great.
All right. So, we have the talent coming down up against Heartfire Hero. Dang it, it got me again. Of course, Nicole is on the play.
Right.
All right, Heartfire Hero.
Being on the play, it's kind of obvious to say, but really, really important in any Is It or red versus the other matchup.
Yeah.
Is it versus red, red versus red. It just can't be understated in these Monsters Rage matchups how important going first is.
Yep, absolutely. Heartfire Hero coming in. And there's the Lizard.
It's Lizard time.
Oh, man. Let's see if the sideboard tech from Nicole, if we have a way to deal with the Lizard, or maybe sidestep it, start playing some aggressive threats instead of leaning into it. I want to say, I think I saw Witness Protection, and there it is. That is a nice one.
Can I get a witness?
That's just a legitimate business Lizard.
Yep, no funny business here.
Yeah.
Suit and tie, just trying to go to work. Don't mind the tail.
Don't mind the, shooting flames out of the Lizard's mouth here. It is now just a legitimate business person showing up for duty. Following it up with a sleight of hand, takes a look at 2 lands. Gonna put that Verge into hand. And then get busy.
This is part of the evolution we see, in these decks where, Izzet deck is, people are trying to solve the Izzet deck.
Yep.
And the Izzet deck has to kind of react and, all right, how am I going to resolve that problem? Witness Protection, kind of a weird card. Very, very fringe player. Has seen minuscule amounts of play, but here it is as a pretty cool answer.
Yeah, I've seen that and like Unable to Scream. Like,
Yep.
they're pretty similar, but why would we like one or the other?
So, Unable to Scream removes creature type also,
Okay.
whereas Witness Protection does not. And these cards are important against demons because the sizing on the demon creatures are so large they can't really be removed.
Okay.
And then if your opponent has an Unholy Annex in play, you want the demon type off the card.
Ah, okay.
So protection is better there, but does leave a power in play so they can still attack you with it.
Okay.
So there are pluses and minuses to the cards.
That checks out to me for sure. Manifold Mouse was dealt with before we get to combat, so there's no triggering of the Heartfire Hero. That came with a cost though, right? Like Monstrous Rage there would have been slightly a blowout.
Yeah, it usually is.
Yeah, yeah. That's true most games of Magic here in Standard.
Probably the most common statement uttered is if they have Monstrous Rage here,
I'm dead.
I'm in big trouble.
Yes.
Kind of the Embercleave of our era.
It really is. It really is. Which one feels worse to lose to? Embercleave or Monstrous Rage?
I think Embercleave.
I think so too.
I think Rage is better, and
Yeah.
Cleave requires more setup.
Yeah.
So it's just like, you got there. Also on Questing Beast with the Death Touch or whatever. Not cool.
Let's hope Embercleave is in the most recent set coming out as well. You know, let's get Embercleave and Monstrous Rage together and just really set the world on fire, you know?
There is an equipment theme in Final Fantasy, so.
I don't know if Embercleave fits, you know, the lore of Final Fantasy, but we'll see.
I mean, that Cloud guy is a big sword, right?
Yes.
Looks cleavy to me.
That Cloud guy. Love it. All right, here is Emberheart Challenger coming down. And everything getting in, even the legitimate business lizard.
Listen, you gotta go to work somehow, right?
Yep.
Sometimes you gotta walk.
All right. That is a large chunk of damage.
I like the untapping of the enchantment, like really keeping it legit.
Yeah.
Like this is a proper board state. The enchantment doesn't actually tap, so like really staying in character.
Wait, I know artifacts equipped to it don't tap, but I thought enchantments do tap with it.
Nope.
Okay, I mean, it literally never matters, but...
Yeah, there are some extreme corner case scenarios, but for the most part, it never matters. You're correct. So
Okay.
it's a common thing people do, but I like that it was tapped and then intentionally, I'm going to keep this guy legit. Nothing. This is fine. Nothing to see here. This is totally on the level.
I mean, it says the creature is a legitimate business person. A legitimate business person does things right.
Yep.
And looks like we are just taking this damage. Large chunk putting Nicole down to 10 life.
So kind of what I was saying about being on the play and stuff, part of that was what we see here once the boards get kind of big, is that neither deck really has a great way to like mop a board up.
Yeah.
Once a player starts to get ahead and the board gets kind of big, unless you could have some big backswing and really kind of race it, it's kind of hard to overcome. And Perry's board is starting to get out of control here.
And Nicole didn't use up her mana at all last turn, which is very brutal for these Izzet decks on turn 4. That's the turn they're supposed to stock up and get one other card, and that was not the case. We have an opt here. I think I saw Into the Floodmaw and 2 more lands in Nicole's hand, so nothing impressive by any means. So we're looking to pair this with, I mean, once again, at this stage of the game, I feel like you're always looking for stock up.
Yeah, any spell will do.
Yeah.
It feels like they'd have a never-ending stream of spells usually, but it can certainly happen where 1 or 2 bricks and all of a sudden you can't hit that flurry trigger and things start to go south really fast from there.
Yep, very true. All right, let's see if this is Into the Floodmaw or if we found something else. It is Into the Floodmaw. Corey's Steelcutter is going to be triggered, and I think Nicole is debating, what am I going to bounce? All these creatures are cheap and they fly back and they have haste back, so able to get one of the hasty threats back to hand. And here's a big attack. This is an attack for 8, it looks like. Let's see. 1 spell is lethal. That's a spell.
I mean, we were just saying it, Embercleave time.
Uh-oh. Looks like Perry does have the interaction. And there it is. The frenzy to deal with that otter shrinks this down to 4, 5, 6, 7 damage, putting Perry down to 4. And then Perry has the ability to crack back and maybe piece together lethal here. So that was huge.
Yeah, and Nicole in a spot where you got to go for it.
Yep.
You're down bit, kind of losing the race. There's a decent chance there that there is no answer and the game just ends.
Yep.
That didn't happen. Play on. We're probably in trouble now.
Yeah.
But I think definitely worth the shot.
And I think if Nicole had the option where she could have only sent 2 creatures, with this list having 4 Witchstalker Frenzies, she would have, but she needed every piece to be able to win that one.
For sure. And that's always so frustrating when your opponent plays around Frenzy.
Yeah.
You're like, well, why didn't you attack with
Getting a bit
everything?
warm. Let's get that
Not
going
being
again.
smart.
Have you seen the attack all button? Use it.
Yeah.
Don't think just attack is what anyone with Witchstalker Frenzy in hand is saying.
Yep.
All right, here's the challenger. Now what I see is we got 4, 5, 6 damage, 7 damage on surface value if you pump the hired claw. That's not going to be
Oh,
enough.
they did.
And if
Okay,
not
I was
everything's
hoping that
getting in
they would
there,
have seen that.
you got to expect Perry does not have lethal. And here comes 4 damage.
So that's kind of cool where like the backdoor result of Nicole's attack is even though it didn't work, it did enough damage where it forces Perry to have lethal. If not, Perry needs to hang back.
Yep.
And now Nicole gets their shot at it.
All right, Nicole had no relevant cards in hand, though, so big draw step. Stock up, maybe?
That would be a good one.
Let's see.
Realistically, though, the cool part of this is like it can kind of come from anywhere. One sleight of hand, into an opt, into this, into that. You know, it kind of can start chaining together, so.
I think it was a Corey Steel Cutter.
Which
is less than ideal. So if you can play that, equip to the Monk. Now you got 2 3-power tramplers, and I'm seeing 3 damage instead of 4 if that's the case.
Yeah, and of course these mice will deal damage on the way out too.
Yeah.
So they are both blockers and then a bit of damage source. And the lizard and the other mouse should be able to finish it in that case.
And that's the problem with a card like Witness Protection instead of a way to remove lizard. Not that there is good ways to deal 4 damage to a creature, but this legitimate business lizard has made the difference in this game by either just sticking around, forcing a removal, doing a little bit extra damage, and I think Nicole is kind of running through what she can possibly do as well and decides to hold the Corey Steel Cutter in hand, and now let's see if Perry can piece it together.
Now to be fair, we can see the hands. Perry cannot.
Yes.
So all Perry sees is Nicole with 2 or 3 cards in hand. Nicole, of course, a phenomenal player.
She's so good.
One of the rising stars in the Pro Tour, had a phenomenal start to her career in the last year. So you are staring down one of the top up-and-coming players in the game with 3 cards in hand. You know, puts you to the test.
Just a standard master. You know, she broke onto the Pro Tour scene with a solid. I want to say, I'm not 100% sure, but I think she lost a double win in for a PT top 8 and then went and crushed the very next standard Pro Tour. So she knows her way around the standard format for sure. As well as limited, these Pro Tours are 2 formats. So
yeah, Nicole's been absolutely crushing it.
Yeah.
You know, and this is kind of the Chris Moneymaker situation where it could be you. Nicole went to her first RC. Her goal is to win 1 match. She top 8 of the RC.
Yeah.
And there she's maybe only top 32, but cute with the Pro Tour.
Sure. Yeah.
And then onto the Pro Tour, lose some win-ins.
Yeah.
On the train.
Absolutely. I remember she beat Ely Cassis in the last round to top 16. I want to say OTJ. And yeah, I talked to Ely after. I was just like, yeah, she beat me badly. And not too many people beat Ely badly in general, you know. So here is the attack. 1 damage dealt from the Hired Claw. And is this the classic? Okay, I can't beat anything. I'm going to block to just stay alive mode from Nicole. I mean, this is the spot where she's like, she looks and thinks about Monstrous Rage. She's like, LOL, I can never beat that card. If you have that, I'm dead.
Yeah, it's interesting. Is an attack all here would have been lethal.
What would have forced the other monk to block the legitimate business lizard, right?
Right, lethal in the sense like it forces both blockers.
Sure, yeah.
So the fear of cards in hand, both either for reprisal next turn, be it a big hasted attack, or some kind of interaction, keeping things safe here. We got a tight one, though.
Okay, looks like Perry must not have it. We have land, Corey Steel Cutter. Let's see what the other card is. It was is it Guildgate? Spire Bluff Canal off the top.
I was like, wait, what? That card is legal, right? It was in Foundations, like the starter kit.
Is it Guildgate? I'm not sure, but it doesn't matter. Perry Fang takes this one down and advances to 5-0 here at the U.S. Regional Championship. Impressive stuff there from, I mean, this really innovative mono red deck. 3 Magebane Lizards in the main, a Scorching Shot in the main, as well as those 4 Witchstalker Frenzies. Very unique build of mono red, but looking pretty nice there.
Yeah, I think this is a great build for 2 reasons. One, Lizard is fine in the deck regardless.
Yeah.
It is phenomenal against top 2 decks in the format.
Yep.
The other thing, though, is that mono red has had these like 4-ish flex spots for a while now. Monster Swift Spear, when Tursa came out, people were playing like 2 Tursa, 2 Swift Spear. Some were playing 4 Tursa, but it was clearly a spot of contention where the card being played was fine but not great.
Yes.
So being able to cut those cards for a card that is an absolute ace in your top 2 matchups and is still serviceable otherwise, rather than always having this card that's like a B- C+ card, is great overall, and then great deck building as well.
Yep, totally agree. It just feels wrong, too, that like, oh, I'm playing a mono red deck. First, of course, you cut Monastery Swiftspear. You know,
it's just so
if we would have
heavy.
said that to each other 5 years ago, I'd be like, yeah, of course you don't get. That's where you start your mono red deck.
Yeah, it just the deck is honestly so creature heavy. You know, it's 25, 26 creatures or whatever. There only are a few spells in the deck, so it only really got a trigger or two.
Yeah.
So Spears, obviously at its best, it isn't, where spells are flying everywhere. So
it's just a funny thing to say, I must say. You know?
I agree. Yeah.
All right, it sounds like we are going to take ourselves a short break, but we got ourselves a deck tech, and it's a really sweet one with Corbin. So let's check it out.
Hello and welcome into the sideboard, everyone. I am Corbin Hostler, and we are here at the Regional
I haven't seen him in a while.
in Hartford, Connecticut at SCGCon, and I am joined by Azim Lyons, who we watched on camera a few rounds ago take this wild deck to an undefeated record. So we're going to talk about it now. All right, welcome in, and congratulations on the start so far.
Appreciate it.
What do we have going on here with this Throne of the Grim Captain deck?
So basically, the Throne of the Captain is the name of the game. Throne of the Grim Captain is the name of the game. The main thing is this, and this is all you're doing. You are trying to flip Throne of the Grim Captain, and if that is stopped, you are trying to reassemble the combo or cast your draft creatures and beat them down, right? Like, so Throne of the Grim Captain is basically a level letter to Ixalan. It is the side quest mini boss that you get to fight once you beat the main game.
That's a good way to put it.
It mills 2 cards at a time. It puts stuff in your graveyard. However, when you get 4, you get to craft it. Sorcery speed, exile it and 4 creatures, 4 cards from among your battlefield and graveyard to flip it over into the big scary.
And if we flip all the right creature types with it, you get this monstrous Grim Captain.
Yes, which is Menace, Trample, Lifelink, Hexproof. Not quite haste, but we can get to that. And whenever it attacks, your an opponent first sacrifices a non-land permanent, and then you get to put one of the craft materials that is exiled with it into play, tapped and attacking. So that can mean something like a Trumpeted Carnosaur, and suddenly you're being hit for 14, or an Atali, which can then spin into more things, and you're still hit for 14. Or the fun one is Valerian Thrillseeker, which can then attack, which can then enter battlefield, back up 2, that's up to 9, that's 10, fling, that's 19, fling 20. Or the best possible outcome is Grim Captain, put in Atali, flip over Voldaren Thrillseeker, and then go bigger than that.
Right. Well, I love, so we've got the throne here, that's the combo. And to fuel it, you've got what you called draft creatures, but, and commander cards too, right? Trumpeting Carnosaur, the Drowner, the Atali. So basically, did you go on a search here to find all the right creature types?
I searched for merfolk, pirates, dinosaurs, and vampires, and came up with, at the very least, things that I am mostly happy to register in a 60-card deck list, and a few others.
Well, not bad. You got close, right? And it's
you got a few dual types. You got Galta and Mavrin, which I cannot cast. However, it is a vampire and dinosaur. You got Commander Staple, Torian Mauler, which is all types. I got 1 3-tree mascot as a 5th copy of Torian Mauler. What is it? I believe Brineborn Cutthroat is a merfolk and pirate. So there's a little bit of wiggle room. You still have to exile with 4 discrete game objects. So it can't just be, you gotta change them, let's go. However, it does smooth it significantly. So you can get them in the graveyard through Bitter Reunion, which is what makes the deck really sing. It not only fills your graveyard for you, it helps you find your lands, because you really want to hit land drop 4 and maybe 5 to give haste.
Right.
And then on turn 5, you can pay 4 a flip, 1 mana, give it haste, attack, and you're off to the races.
Well, and that's the dream start here, right? As you get the creature types into your graveyard, you craft, you're able to give it haste, and just in the game more or less on the spot.
Yes. However, against mono red or against aggro decks, Hexproof, they're not really set to deal with Hexproof, so turn 4, put a 7/7 lifelinking wall in the way is kind of winning the game enough of the time.
That's a good point.
Of course, they can still slip past, slick shot, show off is a menace and a scoundrel. However, like.
Well, that's what I was going to ask, right? Obviously, everyone who's watching this wants to know. You're 4-0 so far here at the RC when we're filming this. How does it match up against the top decks of the format, including, we know Is It Prowess to be kind of running away with the field?
So I would not choose this deck because I want to be Is It Prowess. I would, however, Is It Prowess, many deck lists are off 4 slick shots, which are the scariest thing for me. They are trying to attack against the mirror. They're going slightly bigger. They're playing Draycatcher, which is a card that I'm a lot less scared about. some lists are even trying to go the terror route, which is once again slowing down to be resilient to the hate,
Right.
and if they're not drag racing, then that gives me a little more time.
Yeah, it kind of opens the door for you to come in with your a little bit slower removal, but is fueling your overall game plan. So how have your matches played out so far today?
I've been very, very lucky, which I will not hide at all. So I believe round 1 was 2-0. I was able to flip plus haste on turn 5 against is a prowess, and followed by, I believe, flip, and they couldn't kill me, and then killed the next turn.
Sure.
I believe round 2 was mono red, which was if I'm remembering correctly, I don't think it was hasted, but I flipped it, and that was game over on
Good
turn
enough
4,
against
on
mono
turn
red.
4 or
Yeah.
5. I believe round 3 was Azorius Omniscience, to which my opponent got heinously unlucky in multiple games, and luckily, temporary lockdown is definitely an impediment to the deck. However, I was able to flip a Brass's Tunnel Grinder, and the other side of that basically says whenever you cast a permanent spell, discover X, where X is the mana value, and that you want both the Throne and the Bid Reunion.
Right.
So once this is flipped, you cast one, you're gonna find the other.
Well, that's what we talked about,
Yep.
some of your backup plans, right? In addition to beating down with the draft creatures, as you said, you've got the grinder, which gives you some room as well.
Yes, yes.
Well, it sounds like you've kind of run the gamut at least a little bit so far today.
Yep.
And you've got some more rounds to set yourself up for tomorrow. So what do you not want to play against the rest of the day? Put you on the spot just a little bit. What is the most scary matchup?
So I have a real answer, and I have the nightmare answer.
Sure.
So the nightmare answer is I play against the standard 10K at Minneapolis. Red-green Active Soul Cauldron combo, which has main deck graveyard hate, can take my Voldaren Thrill Seekers out of the graveyard, and then use them and then fling their entire board at me. However, if I really had to say, I'm definitely scared of prowess, but I don't want. I'm scared of a prowess list with 4 slick shots and 4 bolt waves.
Understood.
Ones that are going over the top where the wall doesn't matter and they can get through.
Yeah. Well, we've seen a lot of variation throughout those lists, so we'll see how you run into the matchups the rest of the day. Well, Azim, congrats so far, and good luck here at the Regional Championship.
Thank you so much. Shout out Game Haven.
Let's get these guys all going. Oh no! Put back. Dumbass. I didn't mess with too much. Oh, okay. In fact, real quick, while we're still distracted. Let's... Alright. And then let's add another 4. Just juice that whole area up. Go.
All right, everybody, welcome back to coverage here of the U.S. Regional Championship here in Hartford, Connecticut. My name is Corey. That's Jim. We're going to be bringing you coverage here of round number 6. Before we get into it, let's take a look at the standings, see who is crushing this event so far. Our first couple pages are, of course, going to be all 5-0s, and we got Jarvis Yu in second. We just saw Perry Fang take down Nicole Tipple in the feature match area. Any other big names to call out? Ooh, I see Connor there doing quite well and in 6th place as well.
Yeah, I spoke to Connor, who's having a pretty interesting day.
I saw exactly what you're about to say. That is brutal.
Had a bit of a stomach bug overnight, didn't really sleep at all, but it's just powering through. I talked to him after round like 3. He was 3-0, and he's like, I'm feeling better. I'm starting to get a little ball rolling here. So
yeah.
That continuing, and of course playing as a prowess. A lot of the top players are, honestly.
Yeah. And I know you just you start to actually feel better the more wins you get through a Magic tournament, right? Like, is that a formula?
Scientifically proven.
Scientifically proven.
Yes.
Okay, that makes sense. Let's take a look at our other page of standings here. I also love that Corey Lurch there was on 5-0 with that blue-white artifact deck. That stuff is really nice. So, Michael DiBenedetto Plummer still undefeated. Took second in our last regional championship. Really, really impressive stuff. And as far as decks, I mean, still pretty much the Wild Wild West. Like, of course, we're going to notice a little bit more, but even on this page, really isn't even, wow, there's one Is It Prowess, 2 Is It Prowess decks. So, hey, maybe the deck is not having the most dominant weekend so far. It's still pretty early, though, you know, so it's hard to really tell how great it's doing yet.
I think the important number is, of course, the win percentage. You know,
yes,
play percentage is one thing. Obviously, 36% is that's a high number.
That's a lot.
I'm not gonna sugarcoat it, but if it ends up having, you know, a 50%, 51% win percent over the weekend, not counting for mirror matches, you know, that's a combination of, like, maybe it's just too easy of a deck to kind of jump into. People should be trying other things and aren't, you know, but, like, that's not blowing it out of the water.
Oh, the judges are
for
caught
an
up.
average win rate. We've seen, you know, decks like Nadu, even Phoenix at times in Pioneer. You know, the Vampire Pro Tour that Seth won, the breakout for the Rakdos Vampires deck. Phoenix was the clear-cut best deck going into that tournament. It had like a 58% win rate.
Okay.
So it was,
and it was the most played, right?
most played
Yeah.
deck, you know, not 36%, but you know, still
Yeah.
over 20, and it 58% win rate with that large of a sample size is unbelievable.
Yeah, I
you
mean,
know?
Breach at the end, like it knocked on the door 60%.
Right.
You know, basically for both of those regional championships. So I don't think we're there.
I think
What
we
is the
need more dirt
percentage
movers.
from Is It Prowess after the
So
weekend?
let's whip up
you know,
another
where you're like,
4.
oh
Where are
my
we here?
god, like what's the minimum percentage where it kind of makes the hair stand up on the back of your neck?
Lions probably like 55%,
Okay.
where I think
Yep.
even like 50, 53 or 54 is worth a discussion.
Yeah.
55 is where things start to get like, you know, okay. And
All right,
it
so we
has to
need
be
some
sustained, though.
shoes.
So
Yeah.
we actually have a metagame breakdown here.
We'll
of decks that are
take
doing
a
well
couple
over the last few events.
backpacks.
You know,
Oops,
Dimir
wrong
Midrange and Mono
one.
Black Demons are actually two decks that are in that like 54% win rate
Yeah.
over the last few events. Both
And
kind of fringy decks doing very,
substitutes.
very well, you know, and if we saw that from Is It, so if you see that number alongside the most played deck, and you see it in an amount that is sustained,
Yeah.
not just like one breakout event, that's when things get scary.
Yeah, totally agree. And yeah, Is It Prowess numbers here? You know, this is the win rates of, you know, the
There we go.
US, Japan, Brazil, RC, as well as the Australia one. 52% across that. So nothing too crazy. Gruel Delirium is actually at the top with 62.2%.
What's up with this?
Now, 23-14. This is a small amount, but that is a deck that's been.
Well,
slowly
then fill it
coming
with
back.
water.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's top 4 in Australia.
Yep.
And
So I
the
think
Australian
we're
top 8 in
safe.
general, the top 4 was pretty wild.
Yeah.
It was Dimir mid-range beating Rakdos mid-range
Cards.
cards I own.
I believe
and,
it was deck building like Harlan Fuhr had, just
Yeah.
for Rakdos instead of Barros. Yeah.
And then the rest of the top 4 was Cruel Delirium and Orzhov Pixie. So there's still a variety of decks doing well. We saw it right there in the standings. There's still plenty of decks
Yep.
too. So, you know, the narrative, you know, the Is It Prowess narrative is one we're still writing. It is not finished yet, you know. And I think that a lot of the better players, I don't want to say they're lazy, but I guess I just did. You know, I think that it feels like a very
Hit him, Jim.
it feels like a very safe deck.
Yeah.
And it's also the kind of deck that good players love to play.
Yes.
Tons of agency, tons of cool sideboarding, still plenty of room for deck building innovation as well.
Yeah.
Where the stock list is not set in stone yet at all. You know, as I'm watching a lot of the good players work on this deck over the last 2 weeks, a lot are making it less aggressive.
Yep.
A lot are adding a little more, maybe some bounce house loops and things like that. You know, kind of a variety of more controlling elements. So
It's an arms race within the Is It Prowess decks, right? They're
Correct.
trying to gain that edge in the mirror. And, you know, when these Is It decks get too distracted like that, that's when these other decks really come into feast.
For sure.
Yeah.
You know, so until we see the kind of the final form thing, we're still kind of growing and learning and stuff too. But yeah, I don't think we're there yet. We're going to find out tomorrow.
We are definitely going to find out. So we're going to kind of shift gears, get ready for our round 6 feature match, and we're going to kind of look at some of the decks here. If we have our graphics, we'll pull that up. If not, we got an Orzhov Demons deck here from Ben. And let me tell you, this is a spicy one, so definitely not Orzhov Pixie.
I guess
It's
it
not
doesn't
any
really
of the
matter
kind of
with
bounce
this, right?
aspects.
Just
It's very much
make it
a
giant
demon deck. You know, we even have
in
one
that
copy of
way.
the Speed Demon, 3 Archfiend of the Dross. You know, this is a 4 Unholy Annex deck. This feels like what the Golgari decks look like. You know, these Golgari mid-range decks that play Unholy Annex without the, you know, Llanowar Elves and stuff like that. But it feels
Well,
much more
just help
mid-range
speed up
instead
an
of
overall
the Pixie
anyway.
package.
Yeah, like I was saying, you know, Mono Black Demons is one of the 2 decks that had that kind of like 55%-ish win rate over the last few tournaments in a pretty large sample size, honestly. And it's a deck that lines up pretty well against Cutter and pretty well against a lot of the red things happening in the format. Now, being Mono Black, there isn't really a reason to be Mono Black. You know, obviously your mana is smooth, but there's no like Corrupt or Mutilate or some card saying, hey, play a lot of swamps. Splashing is almost free, and I love the splash here. You're not splashing much. We see literally 2 white cards in the main deck, a Legion to Ashes and a Loran, notably both cards that can kill Corey Steelcutter. But the sideboards where the real sauce is, Authority of the Consuls, Destroy Evil, High Noon, Kutzel's Flanker, Beza. These are all some of the most powerful tools in the format against various decks.
Yeah.
And this deck gets to access those decks almost for free. You know, there obviously is some pain lands here and tap lands, but it's mostly free, big upgrade, like the list a lot.
I love splashing white for Biza too. Absolutely love it. Let's take a look at Ben's opponent real quick. We just saw this. This was Perry Fang taking down Nicole Tipple. This is the unique build of red with those Magebane Lizards, as well as our other really fantastic four of Witchstalker Frenzy. But it sounds like our players are ready to go, so we're going to head right into the feature match and get going here at round number 6 at the U.S. Regional Championship here in Hartford. All right.
Yes, of course, the story here is we just saw Magebane Lizard at its best. We're about to see it kind of at its worst, you know.
Okay.
Where, not so
That's
good
not
against,
Perry
like
Fang.
6/6s, a bunch of creatures.
That's not the guy we had last
deck,
round.
Deck playing a bunch of cut downs
Is
and
it?
spells, so if it is an issue, it can be removed. And that is the deck building cost of playing a kind of sideboard-esque card in your main deck.
Okay, checks out. So we have Perry playing the Hired Claw to start it off.
I don't really know him,
And,
so I don't know what he
just
looks
a land
like.
and a
But
path
I
for
thought
Ben. Who do you
the
think's
last guy had like a
favored in,
baseball hat
matchup
on or
like
something
this?
like that. I don't
think both
know.
decks had in mind
Excuse
the
me.
Izzet deck, but how do they line up with each other here?
I think pretty good for demons, honestly.
Okay.
The demon deck is just chock full of both cheap removal spells, but more importantly, ridiculously large threats that end the game very, very quickly. You know, Sheoldred, Archfiend of Idros. These are cards that get it done really, really quick, which is one of the important parts against these aggro decks where you want to kill their stuff and then turn the corner and end the game in 2 turns.
Yep, checks out to me. Here is the bat. Not only is it good at breaking up the curve of mono red, but having that lifelink ability ends up being pretty awesome. And this is pretty much the go-to thing when you see one removal spell, or honestly, even if there's multiple, you take the cheapest one that could kill the bat, right?
Yeah, it's not a matchup that Bat shines in. This is not the pure goal of the card. Much better against Domain or Control deck, stuff like that. But it's a very reasonable speed bump.
Yeah.
You know, it often draws a removal spell of some kind. It forces your opponent to kind of trip up a little bit where they have to spend mana on maybe turn 3 or 4 they wouldn't want to. It might gain a life or 2, and it can block at a pinch as well.
Yep, absolutely. And gain a little bit of life here and there. You know, always pretty nice. Here comes an attack for 5. And looks like we are just taking it. Ben goes down to 11 and heads back. And just a fantastic aggressive start here from Perry.
Yeah, the big thing about Perry's draw here that is so
Yeah,
good
let's add
Yeah.
some
is it's
more.
so creature and threat dense. Because there's a lot of removal in Ben's deck. So you
Let's add
really
another
don't want to be in a
4.
spot where you play creature, it gets killed, you play creature, it gets killed, and your hand is Burst Lightning, Lightning Strike, Witchstalker Frenzy.
Yeah.
That's a really bad place to be. So very, very
Like
threat
you're
dense.
at 20? Well, make it 17. Your go.
Gotcha. And of course, being on the play here is absolutely huge as well, as it always is for
Bat comes in. Gain a life.
Dirt movers. So they need
Opponent
backpacks
down,
for the
and
buckets.
Let's see what we got. Go for the throat to deal with
And
the challenger
then this
straight
is
away.
just to help them.
Just ends up being
Oh,
important.
yeah, you
at
want the big
preventing
sight on these
the
guys
ability to draw a
anyway.
card versus waiting for Perry to play a
So
monstrous
we are
range or
going to
something
be
like that,
dirt
right? You just gotta get rid of it
movers.
right away.
Yeah, with the village
4
in play,
more
even
go.
with the threat of village or monstrous rage, just get rid of the thing. You're gonna kill it anyway. You know, what's the axiom? You know, bad players play things at sorcery speed. Good players play things at instant speed.
Yeah.
Great players play things at sorcery speed when they're supposed to, and that's a good example of that.
Yes, I like that. I like that. So both Hired Claws getting in there and boosting both of them up. Takes a good chunk of damage.
And now we're getting into the boom boom territory for Ben.
Yep. I want to say Ben is at a little bit lower life. There's a bat taking the last card. The lizard comes down. And we see Ben up to 7 as the dust settles.
Yeah, I mean, no cards in it for Perry, but the village in play means that there are a lot of big draws.
Yep.
And even if there isn't a big draw, these pump abilities on the Hired Claws are just totally fine in this spot, you know?
And you know that the coast is clear if these creatures get to turn sideways. Okay, yeah. So you have to do it at the beginning of combat. You just can't prevent, or you just can't have these claws, you know, stacking up with their damage. as
Clawing
well.
away.
Just clawing away. That's why we pay you the big bucks here.
Thanks. Yeah, and wise of Ben. So we saw Ben immediately kill the Emberheart Challenger on Ben's turn, but
Yeah.
wisely waiting here because the village in play, possible haste threat of a different creature,
Yes.
or if Perry wanted to use it on one of the Higher Claws, kill it in response. So keeping the options open, wait until the last reasonable moment.
Exactly, and no, spell pierce, anything that would, prevent that. So Coast is pretty clear to wait a little bit.
All right.
Ben for sure has to respect his life total and deal with this claw before it can get in there. Now we got an attack. We're boosting it up.
Let's do that. Actually, we could do that, right?
Be Ben falling to 2.
There are a lot of great red cards in Standard. I think it gets lost a little bit how solid Hired Claw is.
It's so good.
It's basically close to a 2/2 for 1 with upside. It's got a mana sink ability, a little bit of synergy. Card's just great.
Turns out Bloomburrow has an incredible amount of good creatures.
Yeah.
Whether they're adorable bunnies that turn to be terrifying or a bunch of really tricky lizards. There's a lot of little creatures coming around.
Legendary Outlaw.
All right, so attacks in, puts Ben down to 2. Ben's at an effective 4 with these lifelinkers coming in, and with Perry playing nothing, I mean, you gotta think that this is just a brick, or could be Witchstalker Frenzy, which would be incredible.
Yeah, very reasonable. There was no big play from Ben last turn. Maybe wanting to just kind of set up a little bit more.
I set them all.
Get the extra bat down, get a removal spell in, and then drop the big whammy.
I must have missed a few at the bottom.
Speed Demon would be a little scary, honestly, as far as the life loss goes, but or Archfiend if it draws good as well. And again, this is a very creature-heavy deck for Ben. There are also 4 Preachers. There's Quasi Revenant. Am I saying that right? Quasi
Revenant, yes. I believe.
Yep. And so there are a lot of big boom booms here, and of course the Unholy Annex. And what's the other half of the room?
Ritual Chamber.
That's
yes.
6/6 token.
Yeah, just a lot of ways to gain life. I mean, this Orzhov deck has so many ways to gain life here, whether it be Preacher creating vampires that gain life, the Revenant to have lifelink, Bees out of the sideboard. I think the one major card that we're going to see immediately get sided out, Speed Demon. You don't want to be losing life to draw cards against this red deck.
Yep.
Lizard comes in, gets even bigger, and then a second Lizard comes down, which will probably be sided out from Perry's side as well, I would think, wouldn't you?
Yeah, for sure. But, 3 life points for Ben now. Casting your removal spells is a little more painful than you'd like it to be, and it does just attack for 1.
Yeah.
And it can be 2. It isn't a Lizard, so the Rockface Village is able to target it.
Oh, yes. Is that a Splinter Twin situation, or?
A little bit.
Okay. Looks like it's coming in there. More than likely just taking 1, but maybe this Lizard doesn't block for whatever reason. I'm not seeing a clear reason to do so. So it looks like Perry falls to 16. Ben goes up 1 life point. And man, this Hired Claw has just gotten carried away. Think of the amount of damage. You don't see a Hired Claw with 3 counters on it too often, as that means it has connected and done a ton of damage.
Yeah, 1 mana for a red 4/5 is pretty good.
Pretty good. Yeah, not so bad.
We see Preacher here on Ben's side, a little late to the party. Ben would have loved this a few turns ago, and Preacher's the kind of bridge the gap to your bigger threats kind of card, and we really have been waiting for one of those big threats now for a number of turns, and it has not shown up.
Yeah, Preacher on 3 looks a lot different than turn 6 here. Flip side, Perry isn't just windmill slamming an attack in, but you don't like when your mono red player is doing this kind of math. It usually signifies a monstrous rage, as I feel like that one would probably be pretty good here, huh? But no, a pass. It's probably not monstrous rage.
I was hoping for count.
Burst lightning. You
kick burst lightning. That's what I was hoping for. Showboat for the camera a little bit. Go for a little emotional damage.
Yeah. I would like it. I think
that kind of showmanship's missing in Magic a little bit. Put your opponent on tilt. Players too nice these days.
That's true. And you don't see enough people openly celebrating when they win. I want the hype. I want them to, jump up to their friends, high five. See, even when it's just round 4 and you're now 3-1. Come on, get hyped.
It's funny because you want to see the fun, exciting part of it.
Yeah.
I want to see the cutthroat. I'm going to destroy your mental game for game 3. I'm going to make you a shell of a person, and then I'm going to eat you alive in game 3.
Yes. You're the evil one. I'm the good one here for sure.
Yep.
All right, so...
Are those both Caves of Quelos?
I believe those.
Oh, I
are
can't get to
because
him
any
yet
step
because
behind
there's
the claw
no.
did go up. You
Yeah.
can't
He
do
jumped
that if
to
you're
it.
about to
That's
take a bunch
funny.
of damage.
I didn't even
Brutal.
click.
So as you're
So
saying,
I'll have to
I
wait
was
for
saying to make
them.
sure that there's no cost to splashing. There is a mild cost, as
Yes.
you saw there.
That's funny.
And we see Death Touch on multiple creatures on Ben's side as well as Lifelink. And we're seeing, again, why I think this Demon's Deck is so here.
Yeah.
You know? Even though Ben's missed a bunch of land drops, hasn't played a big hitter yet, there's just a good amount of removal and life gain. And Perry has missed for a turn or two, but like, realistically, a lot of Perry's draws just aren't good here. There's
Yeah.
a lot of small creatures, you know, like draw a Heartfire Hero here.
Oh, we need a lot
Yeah,
more of
he's
these.
Up and up an attack.
Sure.
It's walking into a lifelinker. You know,
It's not
Wait,
amazing.
are you some monkeys?
The best
No.
card Perry wants has been hidden underneath that bat here from the very beginning of this game, and this is the big turning point. If Perry gets hit for 4 here and Ben's able to gain 4, I think we're done.
Yeah, I strongly agree. Yeah, and this bat has also dealt 5 points of damage, gained 5 points of life.
It's basically a Baneslayer.
Right,
Make your own Baneslayer over 5 turns.
It's very slow Baneslayer. Because Ben would be dead. It would be a -1. So
Yep.
even though it didn't look super impactful on that turn 2, it has done a lot of incremental advantage.
Looks like Ben is up to 8. Ben was pretty happy to click those buttons, and he goes up to 8 instead of down to 3, or whatever the lowest point we had so far. So here is another Preacher, and you got to think we're basically out of time. Monstrous Rage on Hired Claw to go crazy. Or also, I'm just very curious, what is in Perry's hand? We have 4 cards. We haven't played anything, in a solid 45 minutes, I feel.
4 cards, really?
4 cards in hand for Perry, yeah. Just has been draw go.
I just don't believe you.
I know. Even lands, you would play lands because if you draw the Heartfire or the Challenger, you want to be able to have, not
Hey,
play
where are
your
they
lands
going?
in case you get a land or a spell. But
Oh, those are the
Yeah,
layers.
what could they be, Perry?
There are no lightning strikes, so we're not sandbagging some sort of ridiculous.
Oh, weird.
challenge.
Okay, yeah.
yes.
Much to my chagrin.
Yep. All right, so we're getting an attack in for 3. Ben's thinking about it. This would be this Preacher getting a Vampire. And then connecting for a ton of damage. I gotta say, as great as these Lizards seemed in the last matchup against Nicole Tipple, they do not seem good against the basically mono black deck.
Yeah.
At all.
This is definitely a targeted card.
Yeah.
And, kind of similar to how, decks are playing a million lockdowns, and those just, aren't great against Omniscience or Control and stuff, You build your deck in the metagame you expect. It's not always going to be perfect.
And that's why you got a sideboard. You can take some of those cards out.
Yep. One thing about sideboard of this matchup that is different than it would be for mono black is these Sunspine Lynxes are actually pretty live.
Yes. I mean, I feel like they're already pretty good against mono black anyways. There's a lot of swamps, but they still have a decent amount of non-basic lands. And just shutting out the lifelink with Preachers, with Unholy Annex, gaining
Yeah, we
lifelink.
need to do that.
Even if
All
they
right,
take
so
0,
real quick,
the fact that they can't get life can
turf,
be an important clause against both mono black
layer.
and Orzhov Demons.
I just love seeing
Not
these
access,
step
dang
higher
it.
claw activations.
Yes.
Just so funny.
This has to be the largest hired claw I've ever seen.
Yeah. Oh, by far, yeah.
Yes.
we don't want to do
And
this
there
either.
it is. There's all the cards in hand. So a bunch of lands and one more creature.
Oh,
Perry,
which
you know,
one's which?
had been
8?
on the edge and then just fizzled out at the end. And that's just mono red. That can happen. There's no card advantage outside of the challengers. You can just run out of steam for sure.
Yeah, and it shows the resilience of the Demon deck too.
Yeah.
With all of his life gain and great blockers, you can kind of come back from these bad spots.
Yeah, totally agree. All right, looking at the sideboard here. Looking at Perry's list to start. What do you like here, Jim?
Well, so first things first, yeet those lizards into the sun. Just toss them across the room. Go get them later for next round against Izzet. But
trade them for cats?
Again, looking for a little showmanship here. But the Lynx looks great Case the Crimson Pulse also looks awesome here. It is great, these grindy matchups. It is a little awkward against Shielded proper because it is a card draw card, but still excellent. Twisted Field is a fun one. This is the Threaten. It makes a, what's the extra condition?
It makes a roll. I believe
roll,
it is
yep.
a cursed roll.
Yep, so stealing a Shieldred or a big, huge demon, big way to swing a game.
Yep.
Kind of an awkward card against Deep Cavern Bat.
A little
where
bit.
You don't want to show it to your opponent first. So that's a kind of a wild card there, but definitely Lynxes, definitely Case the Crimson Pulse, get those lizards out of here.
Do you leave in the bats against mono red? Like, it has the words lifelink attached to it, so it seems good, but when they have all these burst lightnings, maybe these torches, like, I've had bats be amazing, I've had them be so terrible against red.
I think yes, because realistically there aren't many other good targets in the entire deck for Burst Lightning, for Torch, and your goal, the bat's goal isn't to live, the bat's goal is to trip them up. That game was a little weird where the bat kind of just lived for a really long time, but usually your goal is to make them stumble, make them use their removal spell on turn 3 when they want to cast a Nemesis or whatever, you know, and then while they're messing with that, you go, oh, turn 4, 6, 6, oh, turn 5, 6, 6.
Yeah. So
I like the card a lot as a kind of a, you know, a little bit of a delaying tactic to get you to your bigger cards.
Okay.
I only care about storage 8 with this setup.
All right, so if you want to pick up some of these really cool decks that you're seeing on the screen, well, you might have too many cards at home already, Jim. What are you going to do with them?
Sell them.
Sweet, get them out of there.
You can hop online to sell your cards on StarCityGames.com or at any event, just walk right to the booth and you can sell your cards. You can get some hold hard cash, obviously, if you need to pay your rent or buy whatever real life things you might need. Boring. Or you can take that big markup on store credit and you can bank up your credit. You can use it immediately at the booth or on the website, or you can save it for later. You know, you're always gonna buy more Magic cards. Don't lie to me and tell me you're not, because you are.
Yep.
And having that bank account sort of like in the system, ready to rock and roll is awesome. You go to an event, you gotta buy some cards, and oh, I just have credit. I'll take that, put it on my tab. So, love to see it. Sell your cards. That's StarCityGames.com.
On my way to the airport, I stopped at SCG to pick up my card order where, you guessed it, I paid with all store credit because I had a bunch racked up from selling some cards to get my blue-white control deck that I went 0-1 with in a Reese-Q.
Congrats.
Thank you. I had a great time, though.
What'd you lose to?
I lost to Isn't Prowess. I know. I know. Game 3, I was on the draw. I mulled to 5.
Oh, my God. Yeah,
I got wrecked.
It's honestly goes to show why Isn't Prowess is, you know, currently our #1 deck, where when you have a deck that's just like really fast, really resilient, you just get to prey on people who just, I mulliganed to 6 in the draw and they kind of just got me. And I know it was a good matchup, but them's the breaks.
Doesn't matter. Get wrecked.
Yep. And when you're playing, you know, Domain or even like a mid-range deck like this Demon deck, you know, you can't really pounce on that.
No.
Let's do 2 more
turf to put it all together.
Farmers.
So there's definitely some inherent value there.
Yep, absolutely. So getting ready here, both players 5-0, so winning in for day 2. But you know neither of these players are thinking that right now. They got their eyes set on an undefeated record or maybe a top 8 when you have this kind of start.
Or hopefully nothing at all.
Yep.
You know, I'm a
Turf.
clear mind, you know, no numbers kind of guy. You know,
Farmer.
I think that you're, for me at least, my goal in the tournament is every round is just, I'm just absent of the world.
Yes.
Someone's in front of me, I'm going to try and beat them.
Yep.
I'm going to do that again. I'm going to do it again. And at some point, a judge will walk over and hand me a trophy or tell me, Jim,
and then we need
you're 1 in 5.
turf
Please go
sorter.
home. You can't play anymore. You're done.
You are not allowed to be in the building any longer, Jim. Please leave.
Yeah, the hall is closing. But, you know, trying to, you know, because your goal is to play as hard as you can in every match.
Yeah.
Your goal is not to try
Oh, we're
harder
gonna
when
make
you're
you
5-0 or
just
to
the turf.
try less when you're
Oops.
2-2 or whatever, you know.
Yeah.
So
Every match is the same.
God damn
And I
it.
think that's one of the tougher lessons for players is, oh, they're getting close. Be like, now I need
Turf
2 wins for
sorter.
top 8.
And
Now
all
I
I'm
need
gonna have
1
you
win
do
for
is
top
go
8. I'm
from
1 win away
here.
from my goal. Those kind of things, they inherently build pressure on you.
Yep.
So, pressure, sure, it can be a motivating factor. You know, and pressure is, you know, to steal Tennis's line, pressure is a privilege where it comes to, well, if you have a lot of pressure on you, that means that you are doing something big, you're close to something that's worth accomplishing, you know? But it can very much take down a lot of players if you let that pressure get to you. If you can get it out of your head, great. That is the way to do it.
true mental game skill.
Yeah.
You know, you could say the easy thing to do is to ignore your emotions, to ignore the pressure.
Yeah.
That's hard to do. True
Very hard.
mental game zenness is being able to feel the pressure, have it, but be able to use it.
Yes.
And not let it use you.
Oh, we don't
Yeah,
want to turn this
absolutely.
off
I remember
anymore.
my first big top 8, a state tournament in North
Oh,
Dakota.
yeah, we do.
you know,
Yeah, we
when
do.
I
We
was
wanna
a
keep that going.
14-year-old kid, and I was so nervous going into the finals that I asked everyone around, you know, the 15 people or whatever that are waiting for us to end to go to dinner. I was like, can we all, you know, like, not watch my match? And the guy in front of me is like, "You're gonna have to get used to the pressure, kid."
Did you win?
I did win. Yeah.
Sorry, Dad.
It was the Kavu, the 2/2 Kavu, where when you gain life, it got bigger.
Fiery Justice.
And then Fiery Justice. Yeah, it was a sweet deck. Got to play Garrick Wild Speaker. So, like, that was my curve in the first game.
Was that the Time Spiral States?
It was. I was playing against fairies in the finals, so.
Yes, so
Yeah.
I actually also won States that year.
Really? What'd you play?
Mystical Teachings.
Oh,
Yep.
okay.
I actually, Shadow Mage Infiltrator was in the
Okay.
deck. That's the 1/3 Fear. It's John Finkel's invitational card.
Yeah.
I actually attacked it into a 3/4 artifact creature, and my opponent just blocked. And I was just like, oh,
Ah,
okay.
is that the equivalent of Secret Reach before Secret Reach was a thing?
Yeah, basically. And I have a lot of problems with fear over the course of my career.
Yeah,
But the mechanic, you know.
You were
but,
just saying you play without fear.
Yeah, well, yeah, the mechanic is a problem.
Ah, okay.
I did win the match, thankfully.
Wow,
But
you really are the evil one in this relationship, and I'm the good guy, right? I mean, Kavu Justice, that's a good, happy deck. Mystical Teaching, that's
Yep.
pretty evil, dude.
the fairy can't play spells, Damnation.
Wow.
Tendrils of Corruption with like 2 swamps in your deck because you were playing the 1 Urborg or 2
Yeah.
Urborgs or whatever. That
Oh,
deck was
man.
awesome.
Oh, man.
And I splashed 4 Tarmogoyfs in the sideboard.
Oh,
We're,
God.
we're already playing the Evolving Wilds. I put a Forest in the sideboard, 4 Tarmogoyfs. I have no idea if it was good or not, but the looks on my opponent's faces was awesome.
Just brutal. And I know a state tournament that, you know, we're talking about all this nonsense as Perry Fang mulligans into pure oblivion, it looks like. Looks like Perry might be down to 5, which honestly, it's hard to do with mono red to find 3 hands that are completely unplayable in a
Yeah.
monocolored deck, right?
Yeah, it's, you know, mostly either no lands, no spells.
Yeah.
Or the really awkward, like, Monstrous Rage, Burst Lightning, 3 lands. Or
Yeah.
whatever, you know, where your hand doesn't actually do anything. And there isn't a lot of that A+B in this deck. Like, you see
Yeah.
like an Oculus deck where there are so many moving parts, but it can happen.
Yeah. So getting back to your sick transformational sideboard, you sideboarded in some Goyfs, and I mean, states back then were for sure not open deckless, so I bet you were getting people left and right.
Oh, yeah, because all the kill spells come out, and, you know, back in the day, Tarmogoyf was an absolute monster. Just
Yeah.
This 2-mana 5/6, nobody could beat it. And the deck even had, like, Nameless Inversion in it, which was a Kindred instance. That's 2 more types there. Yeah, it was awesome. Good times.
Sounds incredible. Sounds incredible. So, mulligan to 4 here. Not great. I see Mountain, Emberheart Challenger, 2
All
other
right, well, I don't really
cards.
care about this.
And
I'm
Ved's
getting
gonna-
hungry. We got
Tough
some
because there
systems. We
are
got some
definitely
things
matchups
moving.
where a modern
I
against
want to
Modern 4 and
go
still feel kinda
away.
Yep.
So I am
omniscience,
done
or decks that
for
require
now.
the other deck requires a lot of setup. But the Demon's deck is just a machine when it comes to killing creatures and stuff. And